6:30. Moving the agenda.
I make a motion to approve agenda as presented.
Second,
Any discussion?
Yeah, we're working off a improperly worded agenda, so we have to figure out how to deal with that. It was not posted to the town website. But apparently it was posted to the paper copies. Yes, those went out, right, Victoria?
paper copies were posted, email went out, it just did not hit the website.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the only.
Did it get in the newspaper?
I reached out to the newspaper and they've been talking with me about how they can accommodate the request to add
Oh,
it
that'd be
on the
good.
calendar.
Well, you know, our options, our option basically are we can adjourn right now because it was not completely properly warned. We could adjourn and reschedule a special select board meeting for later in the week. Because those only need 24 hours warning. Or we could move ahead with this meeting, and if we need to take any curative measures, we know what they are because of what happened last year with the planning commission.
I think we should do the third one. Go ahead and meet, but understand that if someone has concern that,
We
we may have to.
can take
Back
that,
out.
we can cure it by confirming any actions we take tonight at the next properly warned meeting. And that would also be the suggestion,
Does this happen before?
not to the select board.
Can I help
So
someone?
one of the advisory committees last year had a similar issue,
And,
which is how it came up.
and how was it resolved?
In that instance, they just, it was much further down the road before it was realized. And in that instance, everything that happened in that meeting was just, negated. And then redid their business at a later date. And, I mean, they confirmed it, but they did it over again rather than just confirming it. I would like to offer one small amendment to the highway department portion, and that is the posting of the roads for mud season.
Also on the highway department, the gravel, it's on there, so
Gravel.
travel.
Gravel.
Gravel,
Well,
travel.
there's a
On it.
general gravel
Right,
discussion, but
okay.
that can certainly go in.
Trucking.
Trucking,
Yeah,
trucking,
yeah, I like gravel travel.
travel, so good. And I had, I had asked, and I understand that, Victoria suggested this will be on the next meeting, but I just wanted to mention that, we should talk about the trustee of public funds, and I worry about that being, I don't know as far as the timing, and maybe Jojo can answer for me about if it's pressing, but I know that there's certain, the trustee of public funds, the placement for. I just want to talk about that as soon as possible in case money issues need to happen sooner than later with
Yeah.
different other commissions.
I mean, that was already scheduled for next meeting for the appointments,
For
right?
appointments, just to give folks some time to submit interest. I don't personally think that the trustees will be at a serious disadvantage by waiting 2 weeks. I think it's gonna take them some time to discuss their options and determine how to proceed.
Okay,
Is that still okay with
just
you?
wanna
Ken?
make sure that the cemetery commission can get their money, transferred in time for what they wanna get worked on, and I don't know how that hold up.
The cemetery commission should be okay. We have adequate cash on hand to meet their immediate needs.
So if Jojo needed, or whoever on the cemetery commission needed money for something, they could just come get something from Rita?
Joe just got a hand up.
Yeah. Is that Joe?
Yeah,
Joe, do you have something?
Yeah, once I put my, can you hear me now?
Now we can, yes.
thank you.
Thank you, I'm sorry. Once I get myself on the microphone. I missed the very first thing of what you were talking about. And then I came in and you were talking about the trustees of public funds.
We're
Um,
talking about the agenda, Jojo, because it's not on the agenda for this week, it's on the agenda for later.
I see, thank you.
So I didn't know how pressing that was.
But also, no, they do have 2 members and it's a 3-member board, so 2 is a quorum. So they're not unable to conduct business, they're just missing a
As
member.
long as the two of them can agree, then
Yeah.
we could.
So
I
all I want to comment on for the purposes of this meeting is that I made a complaint to both Nell as the representative or liaison to the trustees and to Bob as a liaison to the cemetery commission that we were stymied by not knowing what was going on with the trustees of public funds, and they had no minutes posted since May of last year. And I made this call to each of them after having looked again and not finding any minutes. Today I looked and there was minutes, 2 meetings that apparently they held in February that had finally been filed. They're filed late, wrongly, but now I see that they are filed. So it would seem that they are meeting and hopefully they will proceed with getting business done. As far as our needs, we need to contract for some work to be done, and we didn't want to be contracting and then find out that nothing was able to be done to make this work be paid for. But apparently, you people feel confident that they will attend to that business, and because it won't be immediate, that we will have the bills.
Yeah.
So
Well,
thank you for your help. I
okay,
guess it's okay for now.
okay. That's, the bottom line is you're okay for the moment, Joe?
I guess so, yes.
Okay. And those appointments will take place at the next meeting, so then there will be a full complement of trustees of public funds.
Yes, but that didn't mean they couldn't meet before. You do understand that.
No, no,
Thank you.
no. Okay,
I have a question.
okay.
About the agenda?
About the agenda,
No,
about the,
about the public funds. Jojo, in my discussion today with people, I found that you, at least the process that they believed was that you apply to the trustees of public funds, they okay it, and then you can have the money.
The process that I was told was that I first have to go through the treasurer. And then the treasurer instructs the trustees. That was how I was told about it. And that's what I told you the other day, Bob, too.
Now, that's different than I was told today, but maybe the selectmen know how to do it.
I don't know if somebody,
I do know.
In my opinion, that's just a matter of the ease of being able to you know, the treasurer's in the office, so that cemetery commissioners can say to the treasurer, we need the trustees for this, and the treasurer can contact the trustees.
Well, certainly we should talk about it on the next agenda, I guess. That's a good, it's a good subject to talk about, as well as posting minutes for various different commissions, like the cemetery commission, like the trustee of public funds, like the rec department, all those things, talking about posting minutes and our own minutes that go out at the right time.
So I believe we need an amendment to the motion.
What
And-
Motion did you have? I missed the
There's
very
a
beginning of
set
this.
the agenda, and we are in a improperly warned meeting, so we made a motion, we need to make a motion that we will conduct business. And if there's any question or conflict about the procedure, then we'll have to revisit that or reconfirm it at the next meeting, next properly warned meeting. So that would be the
That's your
amendment.
motion.
That would be the amendment to the motion. And we have to vote on the amendment.
Yeah, as soon as we get this a second,
I'll make a second.
all right. Any other discussion on that amendment?
I'd like to add a comment, if I may.
Okay, go ahead, Joe.
I approached Nell and Bob because I was wanting to get a clear reading, whatever you'd call it, of what was able to be done in my situation of needing to get these funds and not being.
We're off subject.
Yeah, can we've kind of veered off, Joe. I'd be happy to address your question, but we need to get through this amendment and then the motion on the floor first, okay?
All right, I'm sorry, I'm a little lost.
No, that's okay. It's okay. All right, all those in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, hearing none, the amendment carries. Returning to the approval of the agenda. All those in favor, as amended, say aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Okay, we're now on public comment. Joe, do you have one more thing to say?
Yeah, I really just wanted to find out what recourse we had to see that things were done properly. And I guess I should remind you that things happened badly with the planning commission when it was decided that minutes and agendas weren't published properly, et cetera, that the trustees of public funds have frustrated us on the cemetery commission by not meeting and not having minutes posted. And we don't know how and under what method this can be addressed.
Speaking for myself, I think this has been an ongoing issue that has come up for the board before. And I think that we are trying to get a handle on this for all of the committees that seem to struggle with this. And I understand why they struggle, but we need to get it under control. And that is, I think what Nell was suggesting we address head on next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly. Is anybody else here for public comment? Please remember, kindly state your name for Victoria.
Greg Stolowski, I'm here as the clerk of the Royalton Conservation Commission.
Uh-huh.
We just wanted to loop you guys into something that was going on and receive any initial input that you guys might have. As you likely know, over the last year and a half, we've been awarded grant money that we use to do an inventory of Royalton's ash trees that exist in the town's right of way on the majority of our town roads. And we've also used some of that grant money to get a preparedness plan for the town that'll be finished and presented to the select board in late April or early May.
Preparedness for,
The emerald ash.
yeah,
Yeah, the invasive
Related to that,
species that's
okay.
gonna kill
Yeah, yeah,
basically all of our ash trees.
Yeah.
Now at this point, all we've done is a survey that's counted up the number of ash trees that we have. We'll present that to you with the preparedness plan that we're gonna be getting from Red Start at the end of April. All this was funded with grants that we applied for within the state of Vermont.
Mhm.
But we currently have before us an opportunity to apply for a rural roadside ash tree removal grant from Vermont Urban and Community Forestry Program.
Uh-huh.
This is going to be unmatched funds totaling up to possibly $12,000 for the town to be used to remove ash trees in the right of way. They become far more expensive to remove once they are dead. Ash trees that are infected typically die within a maximum of 5 years, but most commonly within 1 to 2. With this money, with the grant, we would be able to pay a forester to come out for a selected region of road to ultimately preemptively cut down some of those trees that are in the right of way. We wanted to inform you that we were planning to apply for this grant, which we have to submit by this coming Friday. Knowing that any actual work, the select board would have the ability to approve in advance of any cutting. The grant would be targeted at a 1.8 mile stretch of Royalton Hill Road, basically from the intersection with Davis on the north end to where it intersects at Four Corners with Johnson Hill and Davis again. There's 12 property owners that adjoin that road. They would be communicated with and contacted to let them know about the scope of the work. Also, they would have right to any wood that would be cut. But basically, since we're in the planning stages and getting ready to submit our application for this grant, we wanted to make sure that A, it was okay with the select board, that we move forward knowing that you're not approving any, work at this point, but we went over the course of the project. And if you had any initial input or questions for us, one of the only things that really remains undetermined would be who would actually be doing the cutting and removal. VT, community forests, the community forestry program, the urban and community forestry program would help us put together a bid package that we'd be able to put out to arborists to try and get, the best bang for our buck and the largest number of trees. And ultimately, we would communicate with them about whether the wood's going to the landowner, needs to be chipped, needs to be removed, or potentially we might wind up with a good amount of cordwood that the town could either have for either free disbursement to members of the town, that it could sell, which is something Waterbury did, to then put in like a reserve fund for future ash tree removal, or if there's any needs at any town buildings. I don't know if they use any wood firing over at the roads department.
Yeah.
So basically, that's what we were here to let you know about. Brad Salzman just jumped in as well. That was the reason he was also gonna stop by. So are there any questions or concerns about us applying for this grant, or thoughts that you guys have?
Do you have any idea on how many trees? Is it 50, 100, 12?
So the amount of money, depending on the size of the trees, would likely mean we're talking about anywhere, depending on their maturity, from like 15 to 30 trees. That's if we're dealing with trees that have a, what is it called, like a DBH, the width at breast height of like 8 inches. But generally speaking, we've found that Royalton Hill Road, over the course of its 4 miles, has about 270 ash trees total, with an average of 68 ash trees per mile. The most concentrated area is the site we've selected, which is that area between Davis and Johnson Hill Road.
Okay,
And that's also the third most ash dense road, the other two being Waterman and Johnson Hill. This one was specifically chosen because anywhere Green Mountain power lines exist, they are responsible for the maintenance and removal of those ash trees should they become problematic. This section of Royalton Hill Road, that's where the power lines dip down Davis for a minute. And then on the other side, there's that gap. And then to the left of the road, if you're heading towards Barnard, the power lines are off on that sort of separate trail. I think the snowmobile trail runs under it as well over there. So because it's not located next to the road, those trees are our responsibility, not Green Mountain Power's.
So you looked at all the roads in town or just Class 3 roads?
We did a survey that included Waterman, Johnson Hill, Royalton Hill, Key Hill, Happy Hollow, North Oxbow, Russ Hill, Gilman, Dairy Hill Road, Class 3 portion, Mill Road, Dairy Hill Road, Class 2, Back River Road, South Winter Street, Back River Road, the town green, as well as the town office parking lot.
Did a pretty good investigation.
Thank you.
And you said no matching responsibility for the town on this.
There is no cost to us, at all. Obviously, like if there are future projects, we're gonna have to figure out a way to like manage those costs. But no, the grant doesn't have any responsibility onto the town. Worked into the price would be everything from flagging, whether by volunteers or the arborists themselves. The only potential cost that I could imagine down the road is if we decide to hold on to any of that cordwood.
Yeah.
I imagine there would be costs with cutting, splitting, whether there were people willing to volunteer it, or we have to pay for someone to do it, but we'd be able to regain any costs there if we sell the wood, which Waterbury did to its residents at a severe discount, or it was donated to people that demonstrated need.
Mhm.
But that would be a choice the select board could make far down the road.
Cool.
Why is it important to cut the ash trees down before they get to contain like spread? Is that?
So the
Why?
biggest reason for being preventative about it, and this will all be in, ideally, we would have been having this conversation in like 2 months after the preparedness plan came out, but the grants just happened to line up this way. Ideally, it is simply because once a tree becomes infected, they die quickly within 1 to 2 years, and the cost of removal then can become much more expensive. Removing a dead tree versus a live tree is expensive. Removing a fallen tree becomes problematic because there's urgency involved with it if it falls over a road like Royalton Hill. One of the reasons why that zone was also selected is a number of the ash trees that were cataloged by Red Start, the company we used out of North Randolph. Said that a lot of the ash trees there are leaning over the road already, and some of them are in deteriorating health. So some of these are trees that might fall on the road on their own, but definitely will should they get infected. Now, we haven't had sightings officially of the emerald ash borer in our town, but it currently exists in Pomfret as of 2002, Sharon as of 2024, and Stratford as of 2024. So it's here.
Yeah.
We just haven't officially seen it or taken note yet.
And you can also use the lumber. If it's not an infected tree, you can use the lumber, but
Right.
if
Once
it's
it is, you're
infected, you
done.
can't. It's not dead.
Yeah, which is something we of course won't know until we ultimately have the arborists come out. I've also been in contact with our new county forester, Dan Healy. He's gonna come out with us and mark trees in that section to let us know which ones should be prioritized. Based on the number the arborist estimates they can cut down. Because there's a world in which this 1.8 miles has 100 trees and our grant might cover 30. So he would be able to say, these are the ones in the worst health, these are the ones leaning on the road, these are the ones that are gonna present a problem for the town.
Now, refresh my memory, do the insects leave once the tree is cut down, or if they are in the area?
They tend to travel about 2 miles per year, so it's really not a matter of like, will this save other ash trees? It's not going to. All of our 80 to 85% of our ash trees are gonna die in the state of. And that's just a fact that every town is grappling with. And most towns are in a stage where they either have a plan or they're developing a plan. The nice part about this grant is they're probably gonna award it to 4 towns. You have to have done an ash survey, but not begun cutting any trees yet to qualify. So we're one of very few towns that actually are between those 2 steps. Towns like Waterbury, their plan came out 2-3 years ago, and they've already started preemptively removing some of their trees. I talked to a woman from the grant offering agency. She said she's expecting between 6 and 10 applications. So we're hoping that we put together like a really solid package, and this is $12,003 for the town to manage this.
I think it sounds great.
Thank you for all your work on it. Right.
So it's been an effort of the whole Conservation Commission. So I know John's here, Brad's online, so.
Yeah,
Cool. Yeah,
great that you're taking initiative.
So you need a motion to,
yeah, let's do that.
And wait, one more question, just one more question. How many did you say on 4 miles on Royalton Hill? How many ash trees?
There are 270.
Oh, cool.
And that's ash trees, beginning with ones that are at least 6 inches in diameter. So there might be saplings below that or narrower trees, but 6 inches and above, it should be 270 trees.
That's from Davis Road to Four Corners.
Well, that's the whole length of Royalton Hill Road. I don't have an exact count for just the 1.8 miles, but that has been visibly confirmed through a drive we did with Red Start last week. Who went on that drive?
Dave.
Oh, David Barker went along with one of the guys from Red Start, and they identified that as a priority area.
From Davis Road to the Four Corners.
Davis to Davis, yeah.
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Davis circles.
Because Davis circles,
So
Four
loop it
Corners is Davis and Johnson Hill. So it's from what some people call the lower side of Davis, the north end. So it's from there to the Four Corners.
Excellent. So is that a motion?
Sure.
All right, second that. Discussion?
I would suggest that if they do get the money, that maybe the town could throw in some more money to cut down more trees, because it's gonna happen sometime.
Well, this is
So it's
certainly,
a suggestion.
yeah, well, it is likely something we will have to deal with,
Exactly.
but, it's nice that the first step.
And should the select board want to throw in money at a later date, this is work that, based on the timeline we've laid out, would not commence even possibly until July. So should we say like, oh, the arborist is already out there, it might be cheaper to take a few extra? That is a decision the select board can make at a later date.
You get the grant, come back
Yeah,
and
well, you know.
we'll see what makes sense.
Excellent.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
I,
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Rhoda. Any other public comments?
I'd like to comment. John Detweiler, I live in South Royalton. About the garbage containers on the green and the businesses, we should think of something different to do, because I mean, they've been
Yeah.
crammed all winter, and animals are getting in there and spreading garbage all over the place, and I would suggest that we remove them and have the businesses themselves put out a garbage in front of the store. And so they can take care of that, like bring it in when they close. Or something, you know, if you could think of something else, because this is not working. People are taking advantage. Those garbages being there and anyone.
This is not the first time.
Yeah, I know.
Year ago,
No,
yeah.
no. That's why I said we gotta think of something different.
Yeah.
So, that's good.
Well, thank
Think
you.
about it. Yeah.
where are they?
On the green,
On the
there's
green.
2 containers on the green, or no,
Four,
there's
Four,
more.
right?
But anyway, there's always those 2 that get crammed, and
Yeah.
especially the one. And like within the last month, there was like stuff sticking out and the animals got it and garbage is all over the
Yeah.
place.
Can we put this on the agenda for next week to really like
Yeah, and you need to get Walter
focus on
here,
it?
because Walter's the buildings
Yeah,
and grounds.
and like decide
Person.
and actually,
I think that is a fine idea now.
Different.
All right. Item next, Public Safety Committee. Beth, Elizabeth.
Hi, guys. Sorry, I wasn't able to drive down. I'm actually still working, but Loretta and I can see Loretta's there, wanted to fill you guys in on a couple of things. We have 3 events or 3 meetings, one event and 2 meetings that we wanted to let you know about, and also wanted to talk about making a public comment to the Department of Public Safety, the State Department of Public Safety, about their proposed consolidation of I'm going to use the wrong word, of their communication system for public safety. So both Loretta and I have attended 2 meetings. I'm sure Loretta's attended more than that, about this idea to essentially consolidate our public safety system within the state. And that means our dispatch centers and the ways that we interface with VSP. The plan, which is coming from an out-of-state vendor that does this is their job, Mission Critical Partners, is offering 3 options to the state. And this is probably something that's going to happen within the next 2 to 10 years. So it's not this year, right? But what will happen if this plan does go through, and how it will affect Royalton residents, is the Hartford dispatch, which is the dispatch that we use right now, that Loretta has chosen a contract with, would become much busier. And right now, the Hartford dispatch has a total of 19 agencies that it dispatches for. So agencies, towns. Some of them are Hartford, the Hartford area, Royalton. Under this plan, they would add 57 additional agencies, which would make Hartford responsible for 76 total agencies. And it would increase the call volume right now by 17,692 calls. I can't see if this is per month or but the point that I'm trying to make is they would become a lot busier. We then met with Hartford Dispatch because they're providing the service to Royalton right now. And it's actually very vital. It's more than 911, which as a homeowner in Royalton, I would think we're talking about 911. This is way more than 911. This offers communication for fire, rescue, and when we have to dispatch our law enforcement, it keeps them safe while they're out on the call. And Loretta can speak to this more, but one of the most shocking things that I learned through this whole process is Hartford Dispatch is able right now to check in on our officers. So they go out to a call, let's say they go out to a domestic, and their radios are on, they're getting checked on by dispatch. VSP does not offer that service right now for a myriad of reasons. And this isn't a hit on VSP specifically. This is just the fact. They will dispatch the call, and then that officer is on his or her own. So Loretta, for instance, was at a domestic before we switched over to Hartford for over 30 minutes and no one checked on her. She was fine, but that was one of the reasons why she thought that was an issue. Hartford Dispatch, who obviously is the experts on this, met with us and they said the following, that the program or the plan doesn't make any sense. And what I would like to find out from the select board is, do we have permission to join Hartford Dispatch's comments that they're going to make on Friday is when the comment period expires, which is why I rushed to come to this meeting. Does the select board want to abstain but still follow along with what's going on? This is not a bill, just to be clear. This is not a bill before the legislature. That's not what we're commenting on. We're commenting for the Department of Public Safety, who is still working with Mission Critical to possibly go back and get a different plan or a better plan with Mission Critical before they send it up to the legislature. So just to be clear, and I can go into greater detail, and I know Loretta can, but I just want to stop there and see if you guys want more information about something specific.
You're just asking for permission to join the comment session,
To send comments to
to
the,
send comments?
yeah, to the committee.
Do we know what those comments say?
No, we're still working on them. We're not in favor of the plan, though. I know that. Because when I met with Hartford Dispatch, they said that there's several things wrong with this plan, but the main things that are wrong is that it does not account for the added volume of calls at Hartford specifically, and it does not account for the number of additional people they need to hire. The plan indicates that with consolidation, Hartford would need to hire 1 or 2 more people, but dispatch said that is 100% not true, that they would need to hire 15 more people. So that would be a comment.
How many people do they have now?
3, is that right, Loretta?
They have 3 people on per shift.
Per shift?
Mm.
So there's 3 shifts, so they've got anywhere from like 9 to 15 people, depending on for vacations, that fill in, so.
So these numbers, are they incidents, or if they call 10 times during one incident, is that 10 calls?
They're incidents.
There was no, but there's no.
17,000 incidents.
There's no discussion about if one instance 30 minutes or one's just a, quick
Yeah,
10-minute thing. They didn't differentiate between the two.
It sounds to me, excuse me.
no.
It sounds to me is that if you're not completely, but at least dissatisfied on some of the things that are happening, that it would behoove us to be able to go to the comment section, to be able to, voice your concerns and maybe have a different or alternative plan or alternative situation. So I would think it would be a good idea.
I think it sounds like if anything you have to add to it is you should be allowed to do that.
And the committee was very specific, they would like people to comment, even public
Okay.
members members of the public can comment on there, it's a public report, so. I think that we didn't just wanna make a comment for Royalton without approval,
Yeah, I mean, just based on what I'm hearing, it sounds like it may not be, the idea may not be fully formed, shall we say.
yes.
Um,
It certainly forms to help BSP dispatch, I'll say that,
yeah,
so.
I think I would prefer if you made comments and we didn't tag on necessarily to Hartford Dispatch.
Sure, yeah, and we can make comments just as a committee and not include, dispatch.
You're making comments to the Department of Public Safety about concerns of this new
Proposal.
For
potential
this
proposal.
proposal.
Yes.
Yeah, then I make a motion that we approve Beth and Loretta to express their concern for this new proposal.
I have a second
I'll second the motion.
discussion. My only other thought is, I think I would like someone from the select board to review the comments before they were submitted.
Yeah, we can send him to Stuart. He's our liaison.
And I would move to amend the motion that, the comments will be, what we authorize Stuart to approve the comments for the select board prior to their submittal. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, amendment carries. Any further discussion on the amendment, on the, motion itself?
I'm just wondering how this ties back to either rescue or fire department, because they also are getting from dispatch.
It does both, and they
It
should
does.
review the plan.
Yeah,
And do they know about it?
They do. Yeah. So one of the rescue guys Tim Parker is on our committee. And Tim and I have been emailing about it. What I learned, and I'm sure Loretta and Tim already knew, is that Royalton Fire and Rescue already work really well with Hartford Dispatch. And Hartford Fire, for instance, when we had that really bad fire in Sharon where we had a fatality, Hartford Fire was the first one on the scene, and they actually have a command center truck. And the comms are then shared with all of the other fire departments that showed up. So everybody is able to talk to each other while they're engaged in fighting the fire and whatever other activities they needed to do there that day. That is not, unfortunately, the same situation that law enforcement has in Vermont. VSP and our local law enforcement do not have shared comms, which is part of the problem here with making sure consolidation works for everybody. I was happy to find out that fire was actually in better shape with their comms than I guess I assumed it was going to be the opposite, because I don't know why I assumed that. I found out it wasn't. So we've also offered to go chat with Fire and Rescue about this and collect their comments and comment, as a whole, but didn't hear back from them on that. And the Department of Public Safety put this out, and you had less than 20 days to read it and comment. That's the number one comment that everybody is complaining about. Is this is a 116-page report. It's very technical. There's a lot of stuff about radio communications and frequencies, and it's really hard to understand. And so that's the overall comment, is they have to make this easier for the rest of us to understand. Otherwise, how are we going to know what they're doing or what the effects of it are?
Well, I think it's great that you're paying attention to this.
Good. All right, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Right?
Abstain.
Okay,
Okay, cool. I just have really quickly, April 2nd is our next meeting, and hopefully before then, I will reach out to Victoria, and Megan and I will come in so that we can figure out how to get our meeting minutes and our agenda up on the website. In the morning on April 2nd, Loretta and I are meeting with a sergeant from Vermont State Police, as well as Windsor County State's Attorney Ward Goodenough. This is the beginning of a conversation to engage both of these entities, the State's Attorney's Office in Windsor County and VSP, on some real public safety reform measures. State's Attorney Goodenough has suggested that there are some things that Montpelier could do to make it easier for him to do his job. And the sergeant reached out to Loretta to see how they could partner with Royalton and work with us. So that's April 2nd in the morning. And I doubt it's like at 9 a.m. So I doubt that, Stuart, you'll be able to attend because you'll probably be working, but I will send you an email.
What day of the week?
It's a Wednesday.
Okay.
And we're meeting at Royalton PD,
What time?
9 a.m. And then that night we'll be in the full group, and that'll be our last meeting before the Public Safety Forum, which is April 19th. We're pleased to say that the Lieutenant Governor has agreed to join us on April 19th. He is going to open the forum with whatever public safety comments he wishes to make. I believe he's going to talk for 10 minutes or less. We will also have somebody from VSP there, the Orange County State's Attorney, and maybe the Windsor County State's Attorney. And we will be collecting responses to a survey that we're going to work on at our next meeting. What are the number one safety issues in your mind, so that we can sort of hear from all of our neighbors about what they want us to focus on, and really working with creating subcommittees after this for individuals on the committee to focus on things like, going up to Montpelier and lobbying, or not really lobbying, but talking to lawmakers, or working as a liaison with law enforcement, fire, schools. We did invite the White River superintendent, White River Valley SU superintendent. That's a really long word. I haven't heard back from him. I don't know if Loretta has. But it should be a really big, hopefully it'll be well attended. And if the select board has any questions or suggestions about that event, I guess let us know, or let Stuart know. Any thoughts about how we should? We're going to come up with an agenda for that event at our next meeting, so we'll share that with you all. But it really will only be 2 weeks between our next meeting and the event, so it's approaching quickly. I did reach out to all of our legislators, our local legislators, and so far none of them are attending.
Thank you, Beth.
Yep.
Item next, Highway Department. North Road Project. Would you like to say a few words before we get rolling?
I would love to.
Okay.
I just was wondering, if maybe Stuart or Victoria, because I think that was the only original ones at the meeting that we had over at the church over there. I just want to start, if everybody can get on the same page of what that meeting, can we get it like just a quick, what was the parameters of that meeting? What was told to the taxpayers?
Which meeting?
This meeting happened, it was late fall,
August 23rd,
yeah,
something like that.
yeah. And it was about the North Road project. This was what we as the beginning of the bond vote and all that.
Yeah, this was,
This was to start the project. Tim Murphy was also there.
well, at that time, we, 23, yeah. At that time, we presented the problem and said that we were gonna be working on it, finding someone we needed to get an engineer to, I don't know if we had done the engineering by that point, or,
I believe not.
not, okay, so we went through the.
So what was the parameters of the money that was, I just wanna make sure. Like, what was the set
Well,
money?
at that time, it cost a whole lot less to pave than it does now.
So
And we were,
I'm in construction.
Yeah.
So I just wanna let you know that.
Yeah.
Actually, back then it was more expensive to pave than now,
okay, well, we were
because it was
working
right
off
during,
estimate.
it was right during the flood time. And I paid almost $30,000 for a 50-foot section of paving.
We had some estimates for paving other roads, and we know that those roads were less, so.
Okay, so the money was, and I can help out, it was $1.5 million bond vote. We had money in a reserve that we were gonna take and we are gonna put back onto that bond vote after we get the whole bond vote out. Because we didn't need the whole 1.5 million because we had money set aside for the North Road project. And we were gonna take we had to bond for the whole project. The whole price of the project was 1.5 million. We had to bond for the whole thing. But then we're gonna take that money that was left and we're gonna put it back onto the bond vote so that we didn't have to.
When you say put it back onto the bond.
Hold on.
It-
Wait, no. The meeting was a legally warned informational hearing related to the legal vote on a bond to borrow up to $1.5 million, subject to reduction by other available funds. That is what the meeting was
Okay,
for.
so if
And
you go
that is
back,
how
'cause I
the
watched
vote-
the video,
Excuse me, that is how the vote for the bond was warned.
okay, let me
For
ask
a
this.
bond of $1.5 million, subject to reduction of other available funds. When the engineer's estimate for the project came in, it came in at 1.9 million. At that time, the board had the option to reduce the scope. They chose to talk with legal to ensure that they were able to borrow the entire $1.5 million that was bonded and use their additional funds to make up the difference in anticipated project cost. And the lawyer confirmed that that is a legal route to take.
My problem right there. Why did you call a lawyer versus the taxpayers? That is not what we decided on,
Because we want to tell the taxpayers the right thing. As far as
okay?
what we can do.
So instead of going back to the taxpayers and saying, hey, 1.5 million is not the number. 1.5 million is not the number we're gonna have. This project got crazy. The price of asphalt went up. The price of culverts went up. This is our new number.
Well, we didn't go back to the taxpayers because we weren't borrowing any more money. We're borrowing the 1.5 million. We have other money already. We don't have to request any new money from the taxpayers. They're not kicking in any new money. This is money that's available to supplement it.
That is a play of words.
No, it's
that-
not a play
It
word.
is a
That's
play
what
word.
happened.
No, that's not what happened.
Okay,
What happened is the project we were sold as taxpayers was 1.5 million.
That was the bond.
that was the bond.
The project. That was gonna cover the project. Go back and watch the video. It is a video. It was going to cover the project. And Tim Murphy, quote unquote, we have money set aside to put back towards it, so it will not be $1.5 million burden on the taxpayers. It's all on video if you guys need to see it.
So can I just ask you, what would be, if you were sitting here, what would you do?
What I would have done
No, what would you do
right now, I would throw it out.
And then to you, so you don't mind
I
driving on the
think-
road as it is?
I would throw it out and I would think of a plan or present it back to taxpayers for the correct amount.
And by the time we put it back to the taxpayers, guess what? The amount is a different amount. I mean,
And another 2 years have gone by, and those
Yeah.
people that were sitting there 2
They're
years
done.
ago wanted it done
I am
back.
those people.
They wanted it done now.
Bob
They
is
wanted
those
it
people.
done
I am those
then.
people. The problem is the select board fumbled the ball. They fumbled the ball.
We did
for
not fumble any
You
ball.
fumbled the ball.
No,
4 years of Tim Murphy fumbled the ball. That road, he promised me for 4 years in a row that road had money put aside to get fixed. For 4 years, Tim Murphy said at this chair right here and told me right to my face that we're gonna get your road fixed. Don't worry, sir. Your taxpayer dollars are going to this road. We have money set aside.
we got delayed
And
on
we
that
do.
road. We
do have
couldn't,
money.
we
That's-
couldn't
that's
do
what
it.
we're
This was
making
4
a
years
difference.
ago money that was never there.
Because of the other damages to other roads. We couldn't do it
What am I,
on that
what
schedule.
I am asking is for transparency. That was not the price that everybody that I've talked to on the North Road thinks that the project was supposed to be 1.5 million.
Can I ask a question? Just a minute. What you're talking about, I've listened, I was not involved, I just now second meeting in select board. But when you say 1.5, if they hadn't had it engineered yet, how can you really lock it down to 1.5? That would be my concern. I mean, this was a good estimate, and if it didn't come into that, and if you've got the 1.5
And that's
million
not-
bonded, and you got the extra money to cover what it is, you're in. No
We
problem.
were surprised that it came in as high as it did. It was out of our control as far as the cost. And you just said price of asphalt went up. Although earlier you said it was more expensive.
No, I said if you could say that, the price of asphalt went up. And back to Larry's question of that is exactly, I'm not saying that, and I'm not saying tonight, shut the project down. All I'm saying is that you should send it back out to taxpayers because I was sold a different project. And I'm working for Pike on the North Road. They're using my property. Why I'm asking this is there is a gentleman up the road from me. And he took his own life. And you know what he said, his wife said? He was worried about paying taxes 10 years from now. The taxes are getting out of hand. Between the school board and getting more money and wanting to build a art center, and we can't do it. I'm 37, maybe 38 years old. It's hard on me. Imagine somebody older that is living on retirement.
I don't have to imagine.
Yeah,
I'm older.
exactly.
And we're $1 million almost over what we budgeted in, and the taxpayers know nothing about it. Whether we're stealing money from a fund that the taxpayers don't know about, that's
We're
fine.
not stealing money from a fund.
But it was,
You
again,
know, I can't wait till you run for select board. I really want to see what you do.
the issue is, I think the ball was fumbled. This is a Band-Aid, throw at Hail Mary. And again, with the engineering, I like ribeye steak when I go to the store. I love ribeyes. But sometimes I can't afford a ribeye. You gotta go with what you can afford. If that's the budget, make it in the budget. This 2.1 million is astronomical. Ask him. He knows.
I haven't looked at the plans. I would like to.
He
see it
could
at
look
some
at the
point.
plans. We have matting the whole way is not needed.
Dylan, how many years ago did the town, I was on the select board when that was done, for $750,000, you went without pavement for 3 years, so it could get new surface, gravel, get it packed down. They did the best they could at the time, and that might have been what you would consider a patch job. This time, with what they've got, should be a more substantial, long-lasting situation with all the things they're putting into it. We don't want to spend the money any more than you want us to spend the money, but you gotta fix it. There's a lot of people that travel that road,
He wants it fixed right, but he
and
doesn't
you
want
gotta
to
fix it right.
That's not what I'm asking. I'm proposing, do it in stages again. I've lived through that, what he's talking about.
We've been.
I think that's ridiculous, because just like Larry said, if we're gonna patch job
It's
this,
not past
well,
job.
listen,
It's
we're
called
doing it
stages.
right. We're gonna do it right now. And then we won't have to come back to this same topic in 10 years.
20 years, 20 years.
Let's wait 20 years. Let's wait 20 years.
The way, even if you do it this way,
We'll save money by doing
You'll
it
be-
right. I guarantee you.
What's too much now is, 20 years from now is a deal.
Exactly.
it's not right, though. I mean, as much as you guys wanna pretend that it's overdone. Right, the right way, as Larry said, 10 years ago, they just put fresh gravel down. Now they're gonna dig that all back out. The road isn't that bad. If you took the tar off, did the culverts, did the maintenance with the ditching hasn't been done. And you know why the ditching wasn't done? Because 4 years ago, Tim Murphy said, they're coming up to do that road. We're gonna fix that whole road. And 4 years ago, we stopped ditching it because they were coming the next year to do it. There's a ditch by my house. I could have done the ditching. I've done the ditching by my house. We haven't had a ditch rig up through there in 10 years. By Herx has not been done in 10 years. This is lack of maintenance. This is a fumbled ball by the Tim Murphy. I'm not saying this select board. I'm not saying this select board. I don't believe there's very many seats that fumbled the ball on this select board.
And I think that's part of the bigger problem, right? Because like, this board changes every year. It's a new thing. And Tim Murphy's a volunteer. He was doing the best he could do too. So like, he can't get thrown under the bus. He's doing a job for this town, a thankless job. So I don't wanna trash talk him.
I'm not trash
And-
talking, Tim. I'm
And
just
okay,
saying there was a ball that
well,
was
here's the
fumbled.
deal. That's why maybe we should relook at a town manager. Because this is the exact problem. Bunch of people who don't know anything about anything are like, oh yeah, well, guess we need to fix that road. Somebody like you on it, maybe looking at maybe you could have helped at the time, but we decided what was best at that time. And so.
Is it fair to the taxpayers though, that you guys just decide?
But it's history now. It's history. You gotta go on.
But
It's history. You can't do a darn thing about it.
Right there. Full plaque on that bridge. The one going in there, that was paid for by the state. And the select board at the time threw it out. And if you look at behind the plaque, there's names of the select board members that built that bridge. We paid $11 million more than we should have. The state paid for that bridge,
Which Brit, what? Brit?
the gateway to South Road. We paid $11 million more money for that bridge, and they threw the bridge that was going in there out. So you're telling me we couldn't throw this out, till the road, take it to dirt, and then re-engineer it to be closer? I get projects go over, but not by $1 million.
It's
Well, I
not-
don't think it ever did go over $1 million. The $1.5 million bond was just kind of a guesstimate until you got the engineer in there, in my opinion.
I think that Larry, if you watch the video, it wasn't a guesstimation. It was set in stone, this is what it was, cause I remember getting a
How could
little
it be
bit
if it
heated with
wasn't
him
engineering?
about it.
How could it be set in stone if it wasn't engineering yet?
Well, that's what I'm kind of wondering. That's not what I was sold as a taxpayer. What I'm telling you is the difference is, I'm not disagreeing that. What I was sold as a taxpayer is wrong. The number now is wrong. You sold me a different thing. If I went and bought something off Amazon, I would send it back if it came that way.
The taxpayers approved the town to borrow $1.5 million for the project. And so
Yep.
we're using that $1.5 million plus other available funds to complete the project.
Those funds were supposed to go back to the 1.5.
When you say go back to the 1.5, you mean take it, my understanding of the
Yes,
bond
but we
is you
didn't have.
can't pay it off
So this
early.
was, we didn't have enough money to do the whole project. We only had about 800,000. Quote unquote, from grants, highway department. I can't remember the exact wording.
V-Trans, yeah.
You know, I wasn't super paying attention to it at the time because it was a 1.5. We were gonna borrow, we couldn't just borrow enough to make it up to the 1.5. We couldn't just bond out for that. We had to borrow the whole $1.5 million because it was a bond, so we had to borrow the whole thing. And then we were gonna take the 800,000 and relieve the taxpayers' pressure by putting that 800,000 back onto that. So again, Larry, it is $1 million over because what I understood as a taxpayer was that 800,000 was gonna be deducted from the 1.5 million, not added to it. So it is over $1 million. And when you say it's not over $1 million, it is over $1 million from what I was sold as a taxpayer and everybody on the North Road as a taxpayer.
So how many people here besides you and Bob are on the North Road? Just you two?
Just us.
Well, I'm pretty sure that if you got them all in the room,
Cause I will.
if you got them all in the room and told them it was gonna be another 3 years before that road gets repaved,
And then
find out what they wanna do.
do what the school did though, and build a pamphlet on what the taxpayers' money are gonna be saved, and I guarantee. On the Golden Road, if our taxes go up anymore, they're gonna say, please. Grind the road and do it in stages. I pay almost $60,000 a year in taxes
How long have you been building roads?
since I was 16 years old.
Okay, so you're telling us how to build this road, but
I'm not telling you.
we don't
anything.
know how to build it.
I'm telling you that the engineering is the ribeye tomahawk steak of all construction. You're getting the best of the best, the premium, the Cadillac. When I go to the store, and I'm shopping in a budget, tell the engineer, make it 1.5. If that's just tar, then we need to figure out a plan to do it in stages. Okay, so I'll tell you right now, I know for a fact that the ditching is way overpriced, because I priced it out. $2 a linear foot for ditching, I'm up over $6. That's a $4 increase on what I normally would do it for a regular town. For the town of Bethel, I do it for $2 a linear. I'm up over $6 with them. Everything is jacked. I'm just letting you know, everything is jacked. I shouldn't be in here because I have work up there. I probably lost it now because of this. Everything is jacked. The whole thing is jacked.
But if you put it off, it's just gonna be that much more expensive. Now, the bridge going into town, when that was originally done, was a $2 million project in 1992. And they put it off for another 4 or 5, 6 years, and it was almost $6 million. That's what happened in about 4 years.
And Dad said that he was on the select board at that time and they had it paid for through the state of Vermont and we threw it out after the new select board came in and spent 11.3 million because it was the gateway to the law school. It had to be better and excuse my French, tomahawk steak of bridges. And this is what we're doing with the North Road. You got shin steak money buying a tomahawk. And I don't think it's fair to the taxpayers to be, when it's not hard to grind it up, tell people up there, hey, this is what you gotta deal with. You don't want your taxes to go up, this is what you gotta do with. Do it in stages. Say the town wants to put in a couple culverts. There's some culverts up there that Demi and the town can do. They're not very hard. There is some that are 36 inches. Them are a little bit more trying. I think you could hire them out. Guaranteed, you send that out to bid, 4 culverts. You send the 4 culverts out to bid, it'll come in, I guarantee, almost $15,000 less than what you have for a bid on it right now. Just to do the culverts. You say 15,000 there.
From what I'm hearing you, I'm paying somebody else $15,000 to manage all that bull baloney that you're talking about.
Below what you're paying now.
I'm just saying, that's a lot of management. That's a lot of micromanagement that somebody has to do, like, accept these bids, let's orchestrate this, let's take Demi off that and put him that, you know what I'm saying? $15,000. I
So
don't know
what
if it's
you're-
gonna save that money. I don't know
I
if it's really
do.
real.
I do that every day. It's not that hard. Like, to get lined up, you throw an ad in the paper, you'll have 15 companies out here wanting to dig. And fighting against each other. The reason why you guys got a $2.1 million bid is because you didn't go to the little guy. You went to the big guys. They own you.
They didn't respond. We put the bid out.
You didn't break it up. My size excavation company can't bid on something like that. Do you realize, just to bond out on that? Just for the.
No, I don't realize. This is not my business. I don't know
So
how this stuff works.
but you were telling
Okay?
me that I'm not right.
You know, I'm telling you, you're asking.
Ian, you have something to say?
Just one quick question was.
Yeah,
So that we only got one bid, sorry, jumping in.
no,
No,
we
we
got
got
5
3.
bids,
Three bids,
Five.
Yeah.
and they're all over $2 million.
okay, and it's like two.
And we took the lowest
We
bid.
took the lowest bid
And
at
as I
2.1.
said,
We took the
every
lowest
bid.
bid at 2.1.
and every bid that they would have
Dylan,
got.
can you let Ian
But
finish,
it's
please?
2.2 miles of, because that's what the highway map has.
It's
Yeah.
2.2 miles of road, and I believe it's 18 culverts, plus all of the ditching. Plus adding dense grade to restore the areas of the road that were discovered through the geotech samples to be lacking in the substrate necessary to support the pavement.
Okay, I was just asking a question.
17,200 tons of dense grade. Which in an 8-mile stretch. Pike used, what do you say, 11,200 in an 8-mile stretch. He said that was plenty. Granted, it was a different road, there might have been some, but 2 miles to 8 miles, it seems like and the engineer is paid by the hour.
The engineer has a contract with a not to exceed price that does include construction supervision with a per hour rate if the cost of providing that supervision is above his initial estimate.
Okay.
Yes.
So if we bring that engineer back in and say, hey. We have a budget of 1.5 million, what can we do? For the road? And I'm not saying throw it out, take the 1.5 million that you were gonna put in the road and get as far as you can on it. Stick to what you said, is what I'm asking. What you sold me and every other taxpayer up there, stick to it. I'm not saying don't do the road. It definitely needs to be done. 4 years ago, it needed to be done.
Well,
But I think the Hail Mary football is not the right choice.
I was a taxpayer and I voted for the $1.5 million bond, thinking that's what we're borrowing and not. Not thinking that is more, please, more or less what we're gonna spend. That's what we were borrowing and that's what we've done.
I don't know why you're getting upset at me for asking. I just wanna know if
Well,
you.
because when other people are trying to speak, you're
Well, I
doing
just-
it, like,
well,
so just,
At the point that,
okay,
were you at the meeting,
no, I was not,
the pre-town?
I was not.
Okay, so that's where we were sold as taxpayers. So I don't know where you got your information, but we sat down as a group and listened to Stu, Tim, and Victoria tell us what we were getting into with the North Road.
That was 2 years ago, so same thing, like, and just to chime in, 3 years ago, probably pre-town meeting. I had the same opinion was. If we only have a certain amount of money, take it on in sections and do it the way that we can as best we can in those sections.
And to point out Ian's thing, there is really sections of the North Road that need to be done. You could get away with different sections. By my house is not too bad. You're talking from my garage to my house. If you ditched it, took the pavement off, ditched it, changed the culverts. Leave it unpaved.
Reclaim, grind it in, and do certain sections, different approaches. I haven't studied the plans yet. Did understand that it was
Can I say
full
something?
depth, the whole way.
Sure.
I was at the pre-town meeting. And the problem that I have is that Tim Murphy told everyone there that they had to bond for 15 or 1.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the town had 800,000 that they were put in against that 1.5. To me, that meant the work on the North Road was gonna cost 700,000. Now, maybe in a year, it went up 1 million, I don't know. But that doesn't, the common ordinary person doesn't understand that. If it was gonna cost the town 700,000 at that pre-town meeting. And now all of a sudden it's costing the town 1.5 plus another 600,000. It's just, people don't understand that. I don't understand it.
And I'm not certain I do, but I.
When you're bidding or trying to estimate in road like that, if you are doing full depth, full materials. Full ditching, full under drainage, you do throw 1 million a mile. That is a rough gross number that when you are being. You know, thorough. It's 1 million a mile. So unless you can dial it back and come up with some value engineering, okay, we're only gonna grind this section, we'll do under drain this section, we're. Still gonna do the culverts and the ditching, that's. With roads, it's drainage, it's.
Is it fair to say, though, that spending that money upfront saves you over time? If you're gonna do it right and do the whole thing right, would we,
It
does
comes
it pay
and-
off?
It comes and goes, like, we saw Howe Hill when Sharon redid Howe Hill a couple of years ago, that was over 3 miles, I think because they dialed certain things in, I think they did Howe Hill for like 1.6. Like, they dialed that in when, remember Howe Hill just got redone? Does everybody remember that?
Yeah.
A few years ago.
I think, can I ask, I just wanna ask another question, as long as Ian's here.
Sure.
Do you put matting under all the roads? I mean, is that a construction?
Depends on what the geotech saw in the subgrade. If there is enough silty yielding stuff, or if you're not gonna do the under drainage. Or if you're really concerned in certain sections, then yes, you absolutely would wanna use that
For certain
Mat.
sections,
for certain sections. If
but
there's,
under the whole road.
it doesn't make sense if you only have like a couple feet over ledge. That matting isn't gonna really do it for you. There might be certain places you don't wanna do the matting. And I would elect to do a geogrid instead, because if you knew you have that much of a yielding material underneath it, so it goes, if the geotech study, I haven't read the geotech study, honestly, I haven't studied the plans. But there'd be different sections that you might prescribe different things. The fabric or the geogrids are certain times that you can reduce your thickness of your subbase. I don't know, without,
He's got both. He's got 2 foot of dense grade, under drainage and mat. So you were getting the Cadillac of the Cadillac.
John's usually up pretty on, John, I thought did Howe Hill
He
actually as
did.
well. So John's usually,
So he must be seeing something as a professional engineer, that we
unless
don't
you're trying to
know.
dial into a budget.
The other thing, do you put headers around all the culverts?
That is kind of standard now.
Ian
Since,
likes to.
since FEMA, the reason being is that header, when you do your hydraulic calculations, it says that it should allow like literally 50% more flow through a culvert,
But you can
because
do
of that,
headers.
because of the entrance losses.
You can do headers at any time after you put the culvert in.
Now,
You can dig 'em.
Bethel redid their road up to our line. I don't know how many years ago. But I don't know if they put headers in all their culverts.
It's
They
something that,
put crushed rock down to the whole ditch.
it's something that we found with FEMA where they were paying for it. It's a good thing to have in the standard. It was something we gained from our experience in Norwich and Hartford with some of the other floods, and that's what we had instilled with the 23 flood event here in Royalton.
And that prevents a road from being washed out or what?
It helps the flow entrance into that culvert to maximize its hydraulic capacity. And I think, just me personally, it also helps with maintenance, because in that way, when the guys are going around digging to clean out the mouths of the culverts, which should be happening every year, then you're not ripping into a culvert. I believe that it's a good practice. That's. But opinions are like certain biological.
Well, yours is valuable, you're in the
No,
area.
no more than anyone else's, so,
I just wonder why it's there. I mean,
yeah.
If we're talking about the head walls that he has designed in there, there's regular head walls that are like $485 a piece. The ones that he ordered that are spec'd in that one are L-shaped and they're almost $4,000 a piece. Or something like that. The two 36 inches are 17,000. I can pull it up. I have the whole estimate on my phone, but what I'm saying is there's different options. It's just not the premium of the premium. And we have the whole engineering thing is all premium. You're getting the best of the best and you don't have the money for it. And unfortunately, this select board isn't the problem, you know, that it isn't the one that fumbled it, but here we are. You know, and either way you guys go, I mean, I guess I'm gonna do the work for them anyway. But I'm not opposed, and I don't think anybody else on the North Road would be opposed to take it down and do it in stages and do it as the town can afford it.
I'm just not inclined to doing it in stages. I think that ends up being more expensive.
Okay,
We need,
so
we
for
need to,
instance, I'm doing my house right now, right? I don't have the full funds. So I have a living room going and I'm doing my living room. I'm buying discount lumber. I'm going around, I'm getting every good deal I can. So please explain to me how in stages that it could be more costly than taking the premium engineering that you're never gonna do. I mean, with that engineering, I mean, it's the best. It's very, very uninsurance needed. I would guarantee that road for 10 years if I had that engineering with all that material.
Yeah, we won't do it more than 10 years. We want 20. We did it
We
10 or
want 20.
15 years ago and back doing it again. So I think I appreciate all the things you're saying to us. And I really kind of, feel, we all started from nothing, including me. And we just worked hard and got what you did. You're buying your material, native sawn and that kind of thing. But we pretty much got this board has pretty much got their hands tied. The ball is already thrown to the basket and we have got to continue on. We can't stop. I don't see any other way that we could stop. And if you do, it'll be just like that bridge. It'll cost you so much more money next time. I mean, the new board that we have now, the next project comes up, by golly, we'll make sure that if you need to be, you can put some information to it and we will listen. But right now, I think we are licked. We gotta go with what we have. My opinion.
That's, you guys, I can't tell you how to spend the money. I can just,
Well, you have concerns. We understand that
No, it's
part.
not the concern. It's the fact that when.
Well, then tell me how come you can do $2 a a foot for ditch and you're charging Pike 6.
Okay, so if you sold a Mahindra versus a John Deere, you're buying the name. Pike Industries is gonna be your top of your mark. I mean, it's easy to, Pike Industries is the top of the mark.
No, but you had to give them a price to do the ditch end, didn't you?
Yeah, I was $2 for Bethel,
Yeah,
ditch for $2 a linear foot. I gave them a $6 bid and won. Cause why wouldn't I? I know they're way overpriced
yeah, well, anyway,
but you guys sign up and
well, if you wanted to work for the town of Royalton, then you could have given
I
it
will
for $3.
donate my time. I will, if you guys throw it out, I will ditch and put every culvert in that road on my dime,
Man,
on my dime.
Dylan, you won't be able to finish your house.
And I will also put up all my land for all the dump site that the town, if they haul for me, I'll put my money where my mouth is. You throw that road up, you take the top off, I will ditch and put every culvert in that on my dime.
oh,
I don't see anybody else. That's an honest. I won't go back on it and say after and charge you guys.
well, we have to talk about this, but you know what? I actually really appreciate that you came in here and tried to explain a bunch of
Yeah.
stuff to us, and, we'll have to talk about it and.
I just, I don't know, I'm a handshake kind of guy, and when I get told something, I was raised on a farm, and if I shake your hand and it was something that we made a deal on, and I felt like that meeting was the deal, and now, I don't know,
That was the way it was when I started business, but it isn't that way anymore.
God, it isn't, and it's a sad day in this country.
Thank you, Dylan.
Hi, Dylan.
Gravel,
So
what?
there's nothing more to talk about with North Road.
Well, if you'd
Been
like
talked
to,
about.
if somebody
No,
else would
no.
like to talk more, we can.
It's everything's in motion right now. It's only if somebody wants to. Right? Is that correct? Everything's in motion. It's already.
Can I
go.
say something?
Sure, you can always say something, Bob. You don't have to ask permission.
If, you've already signed an agreement with Pike to accept his bid,
Mhm.
is that an agreement negotiable?
We've accepted the bid. I don't know that I don't know if we could continue to negotiate after we've accepted.
I wouldn't think so,
I
not
wouldn't
when
think
we
so.
had some other deals that we've had when I was here. Once you've accepted it, you've locked in.
Yeah.
If you had wanted to negotiate before you accepted it and they agreed to the negotiation, that's fine, but not now. You're locked.
I read the contract or the, what'd you give me today?
The
The
contract,
contract.
Okay, so I read through it
Uh-huh.
tonight. It looks like we're able to do some of that. I wouldn't really know what to do,
Right.
but I do agree with Dylan from the standpoint of the engineer that you've hired can tell you if there's places that you can save money. And then I think according to that contract, you can negotiate
A reduction.
with a reduction. Yeah, I think. But I think you need to talk to Pike and see if he interprets it the same way.
Is that what you were gonna
I
say?
had two questions. I was gonna be, it is a unit price contract one, and then two, did you already give my notice to proceed? Because there is,
it's a unit price contract. We are still waiting on Pike to execute so that the select board can execute, and then we'll have a kickoff meeting with the engineer and the contractor. So, yes, there is theoretically, and the engineer is giving you a plan. He's giving you an estimate of the quantities he thinks it's going to cost, and Pike is going to bill. You're welcome to go back and speak with your engineer. You're welcome to speak with your contractor. Whether or not you want to or can bring down the bid price at this point, I don't know. But you can have as many conversations as you would like.
You'd really have to talk to Pike though to see if there is any flexibility in what
Yes.
the contract is.
Sure.
You can't make any decisions without them being involved.
When's the project supposed to start?
2 years ago.
No,
No, really.
since you signed the agreement.
This construction season, this
May,
construction
May.
season.
This
June,
year.
yeah.
Yes.
This year, yeah.
I mean,
Do you think there's another couple of years left in that blacktop up through there?
Do I think so? No, I ground it up today. I ground it up today and get it off, but I'm also in favor of. Building the road, put the culverts in, and then. Next year, pave it.
Got another road we can talk about if you wanna do that. Instead of taking one that we've already figured out how to do it, we got another one that,
Pleasant Street,
Pleasant Street, yeah, that's gonna need some work, and you can start from the beginning.
yeah, I mean, I guess that's my thing, is like, how much time do we want to allot to this after it's already been, this is in process? Maybe, yes, maybe it's not the right move, but it's moving
Not the
forward,
cheapest.
and I mean, how much time do we wanna hang out with North Road and, decide how to proceed with this?
I think it's $2 million. I think we ought to discuss it.
You wanna get Pike up here, sit
Yeah,
down and talk to
I think we
them,
need to.
see what we can do. I
We need
mean,
to
if
get
they,
the engineer,
and the engineer.
right?
And as a group, the select board and the engineer and Pike representative, and see if there's any wiggle room there. Or
I'd
if,
like to coordinate that and warn it as a select board meeting to meet with the engineer and the contractor.
Do we wanna do that as a special meeting? or do
I
we
would
wanna
think,
shoehorn
I would
it?
think,
It would, no, it would need to be during business hours.
Business hour,
Sorry.
yeah.
yeah, I would think it'd be a special meeting, business hours.
I can work on coordinating that.
That would be great.
And I have one other question.
Okay,
And looking at the town audit for 23. Under fund balances.
mhm,
There's different fund balances. There's a committed fund balance, which means that the voters have to approve it. There's an assigned fund balance, which means that the selectmen can approve it. The road fund, reserve fund is put into the, if I,
the highway improvement fund,
is a committed fund.
right,
And the equipment fund is, I have a question because it's in two different places in here. That could be an assigned fund or it could be a committed fund. And I, have the voters approved taking the money out of that fund?
the voters don't have to approve money coming out of the committed fund. The voters approve the money being put into the committed fund for a purpose. Highway improvement. The voters, we don't go to the voters for each project. To
Well, let
bring
me
money
read what
out.
the audit, of course, the auditors might not know what they're talking about, but let me read it to you. Committed funds include amounts that can be used only for specific purposes determined by the town's highest level of decision-making authority, the voters. As a result of the articles passed at annual or special meetings.
Right, and they approve that money. Yeah, I think we will.
Hurry up, I didn't intend on being here this week.
Well, neither did we, Demi, but that is the way the cookie crumbles. The voters commit at town meeting to put that money into the highway improvement fund, then that we then use to its best purpose.
You and I disagree on that.
Well, we may. And if you'd like to have a conversation with the auditor about that, we
Oh, I
can,
would. Yeah, I would.
okay.
I just
But-
want to make sure we're doing it right. That's all.
I think we are, Bob, I really do,
Yeah,
especially the equipment fund.
I-
That was the idea of establishing
I know
that way
about
back.
Yeah.
No, but I think your interpretation is a little narrow, Bob, because what you're proposing is that every time we took money out of the highway improvement fund, we'd have to put it to a town vote, and that. I thoroughly
Because
disagree
it's
that
committed
that's.
funds.
It's committed for the highway.
Yeah, but
The specific purpose
I just
is
soon
the
talk,
highway improvement.
I just soon talked to the auditors.
We'd love to. Why not?
Well, I believe we'll have that opportunity before too long, won't we, when the new audit
Another,
comes up?
I've asked Tyler to attend on the 8th because we're about ready to push out the draft audit.
Great.
For FY 24.
Good.
But also, Bob, if I may, in that same audit report, if you flip back to where the various funds are, you can see in the highway improvement reserve that we spent $994,000 out of the highway improvement reserve that year without a town vote to
But
repair.
doesn't mean it was done right, that's what
Repair
I'm saying.
Bridge Street Bridge. But my point is, if we had required a legal vote, you would have had a qualified audit and a very long warning from the auditor that you had unlawfully expended town funds.
That sounds right, I agree with that.
So,
But since we don't have that long warning, ipso facto,
Well, the auditors, this kind of an audit is not, it don't look, they looked at the whole town and they only test in certain areas. So if they didn't test in that area, they wouldn't have known.
he'll be here on the 8th.
I will be.
No, well, I know you will be, but so will the auditor. So. All right. We good to move on to gravel at this point?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Gravel,
the board had asked for a cost benefit analysis of the difference between having gravel delivered versus having the highway department go pick it up. I called Pike and they gave a per ton delivery cost of $9.60 per ton. And what
is that? That's if we pick it up?
that's
No,
what Pike delivered.
delivered, it's delivered.
Okay.
If the road crew goes to deliver it, which I calculated based on their hourly rate plus their fringe benefits, and then the FEMA rate for trucking, which is $95 an hour. The cost for the road crew to go get it averages out about $6 per ton. So it is more cost effective for
Okay.
the road crew to go pick it up with the understanding that you're taking their time that they could spend doing something else.
Right,
They sell it by the ton, not the yard.
Pike sells by the ton, yes. Highway trucks, depending on how full they are, our trucks come in at between 16 and 19 tons when they make a run.
But why do we get FEMA reimbursement for our gravel?
You don't, I just use the FEMA trucking rate to account for fuel plus wear and tear maintenance on the
You use
vehicle.
their
I use the
equation or
FEMA
whatever.
trucking
Okay,
rate.
thank you.
Yeah.
What's the relationship between a ton and the yard?
There's about 1.4 yards in a ton, or
Depending on the material, yeah, 1.5, 1.4, depending on the material.
In the yard?
Is there nothing you don't know, Victoria?
I spent so much time making spreadsheets for FEMA.
This town right here, like, I don't think you guys, like, or the town realizes how much she saved the town.
I think.
The town doesn't realize and.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, no, we are well aware.
So the, thank you for doing those, that math, Victoria, that
No problem.
that helps. I guess, you know, Demi, did you know that we got a couple calls about the gravel out of a couple of town trucks?
Yep.
I mean-
That had one there, the latches on the tailgate were a little loose, so the big one out that, but we letting them tightened up. Had the windshield there. But Bill says he was in the middle of 4 trucks when they claimed that happened, so it's hard to say for sure just which truck. But probably the guy picked it off the road and threw it.
I get that, I just. The fact that, yeah, I don't know how much that equates into it, but there was another call from somebody on 89 who got covered, his words, for, with gravel from the back of the trucks.
Yeah, probably it was that truck there, which is the old truck that's supposed to be traded as soon as the new one gets done, but the tailgate was a little loose, so it was dribbling down. But then I've got that all tightened up so it doesn't dribble out the tailgate. It's not coming from the top of the truck.
It's not coming from the top. It made me think that it was, but it wasn't.
No, it's not coming from the top, and the loads are tarked.
Oh, they are.
They're tarked and the tailgates on them, they come to a sharp point, so nothing can set on the tailgates. And like when they load them, they keep the loads down anyhow, so. But yeah, it's just the latches are worn some, so I just have to tighten them up.
Yeah, we don't wanna waste that precious gravel.
Or our insurance claim.
Yeah, exactly. We don't want any gravel flying out.
Anything else, Bob? Did you have any gravel
I just,
questions?
no,
Okay,
I have a truck question.
okay, let's move on to the truck question.
I stopped to see Lucky and, he gave me an invoice for the truck. And, Demi, do you think you're trading in that truck?
Well, he hasn't given us a price on that, but I talked to the salesman about doing a trade, you know, for a trade, but we are, after the troubles we had with, four-wheel drive, when they give us a price before it's actually traded, it ended up being longer getting a truck that we ended up having to pay extra, so we didn't get a price on our trade-in, so they still gotta get, so we either had traded or.
From my conversation with the salesman, they didn't want the truck. And, so anyway,
You talked with Kevin?
I did, I talked to him personally. Here, pass up. I've only got 3 copies of this.
You mentioned something out there is,
Yeah.
thing online there or someplace where you can sell stock for another town. There's nothing you wanna keep.
I'll go and make a couple copies for you.
Yeah, we did.
So what are we looking at here, Bob?
This is the invoice for the truck. Lucky's has had the truck since this fall. And the body is not gonna be put on until this August.
And this price includes the body?
No, this just includes the truck.
Cab and chassis, they call it.
Yeah.
And, but I think we should pay for the truck. Because we're getting charged interest on the truck for every month that he keeps it.
How much is that interest
Thank
per
you.
month?
I didn't ask.
That'd be good to know.
Wait a minute.
Yeah,
Why
good
are
to
we
know.
getting interest if we haven't? I'm sorry, can you explain that again?
We're not, what is this?
Yeah, no, Lucky got the truck in September. So he has the truck sitting there and not being paid for. And, so I said, you must be interest charges with that. And he said, you're paying the interest. And for every month,
How are we paying the interest?
for every month that he has to keep it without being paid for.
Cause he's just gonna tack it on to the cost of that truck.
I got a feeling.
Well,
I don't think he's tacked it on yet.
I don't think we have all the information. I think if you're gonna bring that up, you need to know what it is and how much it is per month.
I would suggest that we pay for the truck. He's had it since, And most of his towns do, they pay for the truck when he gets it because they have a hard time. Making an appointment to get the body on. And that's exactly what happened with this truck. It's taken, the company that puts the body on. Is not. I guess they're backed right up. And so Kevin got the salesman.
Yeah, out in New York.
Yeah, he got I asked him to give me a time they could get the body on. So they said August.
Those coming out of
That's why
Canada.
Usually we buy the cab and chassis, then we get the price for the body, and so we used to do it, so the truck come in, we pay for the truck and then send it up and buy truck. So I started doing that where. Like Lucky's or whoever, they do the whole package deal. So we don't have to do all that dealing around, so they're supposed to have everything lined up.
Well, it's not going on the truck, the body's not going on the truck until August, which means that Lucky has to keep it. From this fall all the way through to August. Before. the body-
5% interest is $7,500 a month.
Why did you pick 5%, Harry? Just a round figure?
Just
a
round figures, I mean, it
Okay.
could be 4.5 or
No,
something, I don't.
No, I just.
In
wanted
John
to-
Deere, we always had to pay interest on inventory.
Yeah,
It wasn't free,
yeah.
and you.
No, I get it. I just didn't know
Yeah.
if that was sort of a standard number. that
Yeah,
we're-
where the
driving
interest
on.
rates are, yeah.
Well, since we're gonna renegotiate, why don't we, maybe see if we can get an American body instead of having to pay steel tariffs on this one?
Yeah, but I don't think anybody does it anymore.
Well, maybe we should ask.
There
Start
aren't too
over.
aren't too many municipal body places anymore.
Well, I don't think we wanna start over on the North Road either, but that's where we are.
You are?
No, I said that's where you are.
Well, what I'm saying is Lucky has got the truck up there. He's paying interest on it every month. Usually he asks the towns, like Debbie just said. The towns, when the truck comes in, the town pays for it. And then as soon as the body can be put on, they put it on. We can't get the body on the truck until August.
Originally, that body was scheduled to go on this spring.
Yeah, I think you're right, it was,
I think that's what.
but the company-
There, it was scheduled to go this spring.
but the company didn't.
Well, I guess they, like in their short on help and then, but I heard they're having trouble getting bodies in.
Yeah.
Did you ever talk to Osgood down in Claremont, Newport? Osgood down in Claremont, Newport, you ever talk to them? They make everything from scratch pretty much.
No,
No.
say when they did.
I know it's more money because Roger and I have looked down there when we bought one of the other ones. But I mean, if it means holding the truck up for another 6-8 months, it might be worth looking into it.
I just know that when we got the price, Lucky's did the package.
Well, I know, they,
So that'd be
the
all.
last truck that I bought was the same way. One price did all, but holding him up for a year, that doesn't seem fair to a businessman. I certainly wouldn't care for it if we could, you know,
Well, it's not something we did.
no, but still, you gotta use common sense.
He's the one that made the deal.
Yeah, but he didn't have any control over the bodies not being made. He just supported his part because he got the truck in quite quickly.
Okay, well. If you guys think that.
I'll make a motion that we pay for the truck.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, discussion?
Yeah, at this price.
Oh, this is the invoice he gave me.
Yeah, that's not a problem, I don't believe.
So, is that part of our budget in this? I forget, forgive me, and I'm looking at you for all the
That's okay.
information.
So,
Was this truck in this year's budget?
this truck is currently on order. I do not know off the top of my head what's in the equipment reserve, but we do just-in-time funding on the equipment reserve. So to the best of my knowledge, the bid that we had accepted for the complete truck is in the equipment reserve, and this specific portion should be available. Yes,
And this invoice is just for the truck, not the body.
How much is the body? Oh my God.
Right. But, but I just wanna make sure that that's the number we're talking about. If Lucky is talking about interest that we're going to pay for.
It's not on this invoice, I don't believe.
Well,
So
well,
if you
then-
pay this
then I don't-
invoice, that just takes care of it.
Okay,
I mean, that's my thought.
Well, if we say not to exceed this amount and find out that we're getting charged interest, that's gonna be a problem.
No, I don't think you're gonna be charged interest. I
I
think
think-
Lucky is
no.
eating it. He's eating it right now.
okay.
He's a good businessman.
And then what
Well,
happens
and-
when we get the body and find out that it's, instead of being $100,000 more, it's 150 or something like that, then
Boy, that's a tough one. I do not dare to comment on the body company, because those bodies come out of Canada and the 25% tariff, I don't know.
well, my point is, we negotiated for a complete truck,
Right,
and now we're buying half a truck. And are we gonna come up short in the end because we're buying
Well,
it?
what was the price that was negotiated when we first bought this? Does anybody know? I mean,
I believe it was
300.
about 320
Yeah.
altogether, but I could not tell you off the top of my
Okay.
head what the difference was between the truck and the
Uh-huh.
body.
And if I recall correctly, just as a aside, we also went with the not lowest bid in order
Yes,
to use a local company. So
correct.
we paid about 20 grand more than we would have otherwise to use Lucky. So we weren't trying to, we were trying to use a local company, even at a slightly higher.
Well, you know, he has a shop right there too, so you don't, you know, you can take the truck if there's something happens to the truck, you
Yeah.
can. zip
Yeah.
it right over there.
But I do understand Stuart's worry that if we pay the $190 now, and then the body comes in and suddenly the truck is $370,000, then
Well, he bid it, right?
he,
Excuse me.
yeah,
He bid a complete truck,
he bid a complete truck.
and all you're paying for is the truck itself.
you're like paying half down. You're paying half down. You're paying half down.
As long as that understanding is intact.
I would think.
Well,
The only,
you'd have to go by the bid, I think.
the only thing is somehow or other between he and the body company would have to negotiate that 25% or whatever it was. But I don't believe the bid that he's accepted from the town of Royalton was X number of dollars. And I'm pretty sure he will stand for that. I call it win, lose or draw.
Right.
Yeah, but I'm uncomfortable with this, I think, and all that going on, because it's, if we're gonna pay for something, we should have it on a piece of paper in front of us. And we have a piece of paper in front of us for half a truck, but we don't have the whole truck on a piece of paper. And I have a problem paying for something that's not complete.
If,
Well, that means that he's gonna be keeping that truck
if
That's
until
his
August.
problem. He's the one that got it.
Yeah, but
not his problem.
the other side of the coin is if you want a complete number, you could take that bid number, 326,000 or something, pay him the whole thing and then you can wait and he gets his money and you've got a number that's concrete.
Now, if you have an agreement with him, instead of you saying, I think, and it says, this is the price you're gonna pay when the body's done, that I could agree to. But I don't see that.
You know,
So Stuart, are you suggesting that you would be more comfortable with a revised invoice that said something along the lines of, you know, here's the total price and you're going to pay an installment of X amount of dollars and there will be a balance due at delivery?
it's a great idea.
As long as that price isn't gonna change. But we don't know that. We were thinking that it might be right.
well, that would just confirm that the bid price is the bid price and we pay
Yeah,
the 190
we want-
and the balance is.
We want an agreement that says we're bidding, we're paying it up the bid price.
I mean, what,
But I think that's what Victoria was saying, right? You're comfortable with that version?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think what's happening here is, you're getting things mixed up. When you had a perfectly fine agreement, we ordered the truck, and when it comes in and it's complete, we go and pick it up and we pay for it. That is not what's gonna happen. Right now, we're gonna pay for it, and then who knows what's gonna happen next, as far as whether they can get the body, or they can't, or it costs more, or there was some unforeseen circumstance.
Well, we could end up with half a truck, but we'll only have paid for half a truck.
But I think you'll find that he will have to stick to that invoice. I could go into a little scenario that happened to me when I first started in business. And I wish to tell you, if you don't do as you agree to do, the prices go up. If you try to get it from somebody else that you sold it to originally, it doesn't work. You've got to stay what you agreed to. Like I said, win, lose, or draw. So I'm not speaking for Lucky, I'm just speaking about business in general.
Well,
So
since
can we-
Bob is
can-
already talking to Lucky, could we have Bob go and get the exact information? Like, we would like to pay you for the truck, so you're not sitting on this inventory.
That's what
That
I
sounds-
asked for in the beginning.
They'll make a motion.
I wanna have the exact figure in front of us before agreeing to something and paying for it and then
That's
getting.
reasonable, yeah.
Does that work for you, Bob?
Well, I'll do whatever the board wants.
But I mean,
But you already
I think
taken it upon yourself
The way I feel about this
to
is,
interfere, so.
what'd you say?
I said,
Oh,
you've
wait.
already taken it upon yourself to interfere with the process, so. Is that doing what the board wanted? I think you're getting involved in a
What I'm
deal.
trying to do is get Lucky paid.
Why? What's it to you?
What's it to me?
Yeah,
Well, I think it's the fair way to handle a businessman that lives in town and is providing,
Taxes and everything else,
Yeah.
employment and stuff, to just kind of give him good faith that the town of Wilton's interested in continuing to do business with him.
oh, I thought we did that when we bought the truck from him.
No, that's step one.
I
Step
mean-
two is pay for it.
I
So
think,
Bob, since you're doing this, can you? Are we willing to go back and talk to Lucky and get the other half of the
if
paper?
Victoria gives me a copy of the bid, I will.
Sure.
Great, thank you.
So we can,
Patrick, you have a motion on the table.
table this.
Oh. We do, I'm sorry, what was the motion like?
Well,
It was Bob's motion to pay for the truck that Larry seconded.
Oh, correct, I'm done.
way back.
Okay. Wait.
Way back.
or you can I can withdraw my second, and if Bob wants to withdraw his motion at this time until we meet again in 2 weeks.
We can. Vote on it and.
It's
vote it
okay
down,
with me.
huh?
Yep. It's all right with me.
I'll withdraw my motion,
Your second.
or my second.
I'll withdraw my motion.
All right. Now have we stitched that closed, Victoria? Thank you.
I think it makes sense.
Excess weight permits. Do we have any?
Yes.
There's a folder on the corner right next to Bob.
Oh.
Are we done with Denny?
That?
Are we done with Denny?
Any more on the gravel, do you wanna?
I think I am done with Demi for the moment. Anybody
I
else?
have a question.
For Demi?
Yeah.
Sure.
Debbie, when are you gonna, fill those potholes in on the North Road? When are you gonna fill those potholes in on the North Road?
When the weather gets good enough,
I thought you told me you were gonna do it in a day.
yeah, but, truck had, that we go get the coal patch in. Had bad U joint, so just so they got that fixed.
So you're gonna do that soon?
Yeah, the road's gotta dry out a little bit.
Oh,
But the road's good for another couple of years.
And the potholes need to be filled in, that's all.
Got that, Pleasant Street, South Windsor, North Windsor.
yeah, that would actually be a good thing to know is when you project those things happening, Demi. I feel like it would be nice if we could be, aware of your schedule and what you kind of foresee planning coming down the road.
I don't plan that far.
I know, but Demi, like, we need,
It's
like,
when the weather's work right and I got time there and the truck's running, it's.
I don't know, man. And also, like, when do you plan to do the signs that there are a couple signs that are,
I'm
that
waiting
need to
for
go
the
up?
frost to get out of the ground, so I drive anchors down.
Okay. Okay, cause I just feel like it would be nice to know a little bit more. idea on when you have your stuff lined up, you know?
And say, however things work, try to plan something, then something comes up over there, so I never know.
I think it would be helpful for all of us if we had a better, I think, you know, like, I know that hay season is in the summertime, right? Like, I know that I stack my wood in June.
Hay or not,
What's that?
you don't necessarily know what day you can bale hay.
You don't, you know what season, right? You know, a couple months. I stack my wood every June. That's my personal thing. And so I would like to see some sort of seasonal, like yearly things of like what time things happen. You know, ditching, like, the culverts or something. When do you attend to culverts? When are those, that kind of time frame? Is there a certain, like, I think it should be
It's
sort of a
whenever I can
regular.
Work things in.
But I think if we all had a good idea of when those things are best done, I think it would be more efficient. I'm not a road foreman, I won't ever.
Well,
I know that you are,
and I say, I don't plan that far ahead. I'm too old to plan that far ahead, so if you want somebody that's gonna make out a list and have everything planned ahead, you might wanna start looking for another road for me. Cause I just don't plan that far
you
ahead.
just don't wanna do that at all. You don't think it's like useful at
I
all?
just, when I got time or things need to be taken care of, I take care of it then. Usually when, the good used to put up sand, you try to do that pretty early there, but you gotta wait for the pit on that, and that usually gonna take at least 3 weeks just to put up sand. Then we got the ditching for the grant projects that we gotta get going on, and so usually have a lot going on, so. You know, just try to work everything in, get done when I can.
No, I get that. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'd like to ask, do you still maintain a culvert list of, on the different roads on the culverts, what you have for culverts?
Yeah, actually, Rita Settle there has got it set up, Adam on his phone, he has that, and we got one of those, iPads that has all the culverts and size and location, so he right on his phone, he can locate them right from his phone, the actual GPS right where.
Okay, so you know about, you know, going around and talking and getting them cleared out and that kind of stuff without missing them when you go on the road. Okay, that's my question. Joe?
Thank you, Patrick. I have a question for Demi. When are you gonna fix that horrible ditch completely across the road at the top of Russo Road that hasn't been there but about 3 years since one of our worst mud seasons, and it's back every year now? It is either got to be fixed or have a bridge over it. It is that deep. We broke an oil pan on it the other day. You can almost not get through it. We almost didn't get through it. It is like absolutely as if there was a culvert that was taken out, but there never was a culvert there. It's a ledge spot. If you don't know what I'm talking about, get your ass up there and find out, because it is horrid. It is horrid.
So,
So,
yeah,
okay, Papa Russo,
Papa Russo, she's saying. Yeah.
Papa Russo.
Top of Russo Road, next to where Tom Wells used to live.
Oh,
Miss it.
oh, was a puff sack right there, I think the rep said there and whatnot. So
What?
It was like one of those puff sacks that come up and then it's settling back down.
Springer Road.
It's a ditch all the way, completely perpendicular to the road, all the way across the road, completely.
Ian, do you have something to add to this?
I'll just add, if no one else will, Jojo, I don't appreciate you swearing at a town employee.
Yeah, I don't care. You.
Set it on the highway?
You need to, motion to allow Larry potentially to approve the access-way
Yes,
permits.
So moved. I'll second that.
And Demi, I'm sorry, I certainly don't wanna get you upset. I love you, I know you're working hard, and I'm sorry there was swearing and.
And this is way late for me.
I know, you need to get your beauty sleep.
Usually I have it up between 6:30 and 7 this morning.
Any discussion on authorizing Larry to sign the excess weight permit? once he's reviewed?
No.
All those in favor say aye.
I,
Opposed, motion carries. Well, there was one other thing under the highway. Demi has already posted the roads, which we should have approved beforehand. So, I will take a motion to approve posting the roads for mud season.
I move we post the roads.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
I,
Aye, opposed, hearing none, motion carries. Only an hour late, Delaware sewer connection.
Thank you guys for, thanks.
I'm all done.
Yes.
Demi.
Thank you,
you're all
Demi.
done, Demi.
thank you, Demi.
Thank you, Demi.
Thank you guys for putting us on the agenda and letting us come in. Had a few questions I had emailed
Sure.
Victoria ahead, but I don't know if she did or didn't pass them along, and I think probably just to work through them.
Yeah, she did, but if you could just
I just
put them in your
made
own
a,
words.
just a note to
briefly,
myself.
yeah.
So we have been working on the plans. We've had different, new boards. I just want to make sure we're all up to speed. The permit was obtained for the sewer extension that was just to get to the Tuller
Right.
property with that sewer service. Did some different stuff with Simon. I think, once we have our final contractor, we have to do something to get the final, yep, you're good to go approval, but otherwise everything's in place. The permits are there. We're working through the bids. I'll get to that on my next topic. So I just figured to knock a couple quick questions out of the way is, that's come up in the bids and trying to keep this thing cost effective. And I know this is a big ask, and it's a two-part ask, and certainly it's okay to say no, I guess, on either of them, but it's, if we don't ask, then it's always no, right? Would the select board be willing to entertain closing traffic, for that work to be done and anticipating that, and I understand it'd be a burden to, residents, myself included, because I have my office now, with my parents, anyways, that folks would have to go to town that way or detour and go around, at least during the day while the work's going on. I understand, emergency services, everything that goes into that and planning it, with the fire department or anything else that would be required there, and or anticipation is that if the contractor realizes that there's some sort of emergency, we need to stop and get traffic through, but it's just the idea to save money on traffic control and the street, while it is it's not super narrow, but it's narrow enough that when you have dump trucks and equipment and everything else, it'd be a benefit to be able to close the road, either just for the day. Then the other question is because without a big, available amount of staging area, or if there would be any consideration for night included, but if it's just day, just want to have the conversation with you guys.
I think it's, better if you can just do it during the day, because nighttime would be too long to ask people to go around.
We're talking one day?
I'm anticipating the duration 3-4 days, but I would say reserve the week just in case. I would think that so it's about 220 feet. Even if they're getting 80 feet a day, plus or minus the manhole, they should get more than 80 feet, but with what we have for groundwater there, I would say 3 to 4 days would be realistic, but me as administrator also, I would say, just be prepared for that week. And then if all of a sudden traffic's open and flowing on Friday, then it's great for everybody.
I mean, that's a big detour.
It is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people use that to go back and forth to work. I was thinking something like closing it from 8:30 to 4.
And that,
4:30, and that way would allow people to get to work. If you've got signs up there saying that it'll be closed such and such a time, and they can get to work and get home. In the meantime, the local folks can figure out something else.
That might make a lot of sense.
Ian, where are you going from?
So just in front of where Jacobs's house is, not Jacobs's apartments, the last manhole that the town has is in front of Jacobs's house.
Okay, so the sewer hasn't been extended since I was on the board then.
Correct.
So it goes to Gladys's house right now.
Who's Gladys?
No, Kenyon did that quite a few years ago. He extended that up to where he's talking.
Like where Pete Rogers used to live?
So it's extended beyond,
Yes, yes.
Mary Rogers' old house.
Yeah,
and how much further?
Not
how much-
It's close,
There.
yeah, close. So 220 feet gets you to there's a pole, there's a big pine tree right there at, you know, Helen and Rich's old place, there, the other, that side driveway.
Oh, how long is the extension?
220 feet. With a manhole.
Oh, it's the cursor. I thought it was a hand up.
Thanks about the call on him.
What's the second ask?
Well,
No,
the
that
second
was-
ask was if we would consider overnight.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't, yeah. I don't
And
know
that
if
was just
anybody
because
else
it came
did.
up from my contract.
You know, that's fine, but I think, I think we can talk about the first half, but
Okay.
I'm not inclined to
And that's,
consider a full overnight closure.
can I just ask what the cost savings is gonna be?
that's a great question.
Yeah.
That-
Cause the guy's gotta drive around, so I wanna know what I'm
Fuel
paying for.
laggers run you about $75 an hour contracted.
Well, this isn't a town, this isn't for, you're not paying for this.
Pain and inconvenience.
Ah,
Yeah,
right,
right.
okay, I just wanted to make sure,
He
it
was-
wasn't a
how-
town.
how
He
much-
was doing a cost benefit analysis, even though it's not coming out of his
Very,
pocket.
very selfish.
Yeah, that's okay.
Somewhere between 6,000 and 8,000. Which would be, depending on our bids, roughly. Maybe 10% of the project.
To save you money by going all night?
No, just to
No.
close during the day.
During the day.
That's for 2 flaggers, 8 hours a day, 5 days.
Can I ask a question? So one of the questions we always ask is, will you let the emergency services through?
Yeah,
And
that
we're
was-
checking
yeah.
for like road width
Yeah.
and just someone on site that we have a number for that dispatch can call and say.
Yep.
Emergency services are coming, just because it does make a significant difference in
Not only
effectiveness.
whether
for how long it
myself or my engineer, I'm gonna have to have someone there, up here, a good chunk of the days for the inspection purposes and testing and stuff as they go. So whether it is myself or the 3 potential contractors we have in the running right now are all, do
Sure.
respectable work and
Yeah.
have worked in town. So I would expect them to, yes.
I also just wasn't sure width wise, like where the trench has to go, if you could fit a fire truck.
Yes, you
by.
could, yes,
Is really
sorry,
the
so yes,
question.
the trench is mostly on that, we'll call it the west side of Pleasant Street. It'll be on that
Okay.
side, but just given everything there, that it would be, for equipment movement and materials and whatnot, and
Yeah, it's still faster to wait for you guys to move, to get a truck through than it is to go around.
oh, absolutely.
Other questions, discussion?
I do have other questions after that, but I just figured let's, quickly
Yeah.
get into.
Yeah,
You want a motion
I
to
would love a motion.
make a motion that, they're allowed to, close, is it Stafford Street?
Pleasant Street.
Pleasant Street, from 8:30 until 4:30 each day. And then to be opened up, travel by 1 lane, for evening and for folks to egress and whatever, in and out over the hill. Be my motion.
A second that. Any further discussion?
Maybe just who is responsible for warning the neighbors, especially right directly, on not Oxbow, not Pleasant Street, what's that T right before?
South Street?
South Street, yeah, letting those folks know. like Jerry Barcelona, maybe, those guys right there, or at least how do we let people know or do?
We can either,
Typically, I ask for enough notice, to be able to get it into the newspaper, onto Front Porch Forum. I will email directly anybody that I have contact info for, so that we're touching as many of those residents as possible to give them the heads up.
we could put a sign up too, like
Yeah, I
a
was
week,
thinking
week
on
and a
the-
half
on the
ahead or
property.
something.
Yeah.
to-
That would
But
be
on an
awesome.
easel or, like a regular traffic sign, like, prepare for, detour, road closure imminent.
I think that would be a good idea, yeah.
No, and give them a date, like, and actually just was in my brain while we were talking about that, so as of right now, have also been, cause date and schedule should matter. The current deadline from the state was, May 31st is what the state wanted for this project.
For completion.
For completion.
Mhm.
There, without penalties, we can ask for up to August 29th, but every contractor I'm talking to right now is doing this mid-May, early June, have it done. And that's I haven't told them that we can get an extension, but I just wanted to make sure I knew that, as we're coming up on that deadline being right
Yeah.
there.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion? Close from 8:30 to 4:30? Oh,
Could I just, maybe the motion would include up to 5 days, you haven't put a time limit on that, I don't believe in motion. And Peter Anderson, I assume that's Peter Anderson, who's gonna be right in the middle of it, I don't know if he's got anything to say or not, or maybe.
he hasn't put his hand up, so.
And
I
any
think
of those
he's- I
neighbors
think
there,
he's gonna be
they're
so
gonna
happy to have it
accommodate
done.
them, daily, like those driveways that are right there in the middle of it, work with them. If it's like, hey, we're gonna be right in front of your driveway today, maybe park your car, towards the grain processing thing if you can, and or let us know when you're gonna be in and out today. And the three guys that we have as potential contractors are very accommodating.
You might wanna check with the landowner see if you can park people there.
Yeah,
No,
Yeah. All right. So, perhaps we need an amendment to the motion.
I'm a little concerned about the limiting it to 5 days, because you're saying that 3 to 5 days, right, or 3 to 4? Is your estimate time to
Yeah.
do the project?
the bulk of the heavy lifting.
Yeah, so why would we wanna cut it off at 5 if you needed more time?
Well, because he's asking for 5. So I think if it's going to be more than 5, I would like for Ian to come back and say, you're gonna need more than 5.
It's fair.
Because it's a pretty big ask of those residents that have to go around.
Okay.
And we can just, he could come in halfway through the week or the week before, or
Right.
whatever, if he realizes it's gonna take longer, or they're halfway done, it's like, dude, we're gonna need 2 more days, then we can deal with it. Fair enough. So fine, I will move to amend the motion that this closure be up to 5 days. 5 days, yeah.
5 working days.
Well, I was gonna say 5 working days, but that means it would be closed way more if they start on a Wednesday, and now it's closed all weekend also. So it does,
5 days.
Unless you made a motion, they had to start on a Monday.
it wasn't raining.
So we're muddy in the water here, folks.
I said, gotta go to bed at some point. 5 working days,
5 days.
5 days. You want 5 days?
Yeah.
I want my amendment to say 5 days. Do I have a second?
Second,
Discussion on the amendment. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Now let's vote on the
I don't think there's school buses there.
motion itself. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. You have more?
Yeah, I do. So there's
Okay.
2 more other parts. This part might be an interesting conversation. So because there had been different discussions, whether it was with Tim or whatever, in different times, in knowing this project was coming. There's a culvert crossing there and there's a culvert that, as we understand, is generally failing. And there'd been different times where it was like, well, maybe we try to do something with that culvert when we get the contractor on site. And any cost savings or whatnot. I'm having everyone bid it right now as though that, because I want my bids to be apples to apples, that they are all bidding it as though they have to go under the culvert that's there. It's literally like right, it goes diagonal kind of between the edge of the Jacobs property, and it goes diagonal through Peter Anderson's driveway. I thought it used to daylight right there near Peter Anderson's garage, but it actually does go down in the field further. I don't know if that got fitting put on it somewhere along the way and then it got continued. Anyways, long story short, it could open up a big can of worms trying to do it, or I don't know. I just figure it's worth the conversation with you guys, like, while this work is being done, if whether the town kicks in a piece of culvert and at least the culvert right there is upsized at that time, or you know, I don't know. And it's tough to muddy, you know, different private work, you know, I could show you all the bids, how I am bidding it fair with these three contractors, but anyways, I just want to have a conversation with you guys that, because that culvert is a mess.
How big is that culvert?
It's,
Small, it's
It's
I think
small.
it's currently an 18,
it's
isn't
quite,
it?
I wanna say
Or
it
is it a 20?
might be no, it's not, definitely not 24.
No.
Well, the other thing is it's
It's
completely
a
buried
baby,
right now.
yeah.
And I think it's only, I'd have to go back and look,
Is it clear? Is it,
no,
it hasn't
either
been
both ends are actually.
plowed?
I could show you guys pictures from today.
Okay.
Well, you cannot even see the culvert. This is the inlet. I think I'll look at my plans again real quick, whether it's an 18 or 15. I'm hesitant to
Yeah.
say. And then,
So
just while I got you right
what's
here.
your ask?
I don't know if you guys wanna think about, I mean, this is,
Wait a minute, where does that?
no, this is the outlet, so this is on the other side of Peter Anderson's garage. And that's completely, so if the town, well, not to make like a can of worms and stuff, but like. If the town owns this culvert, I went back and looked at Peter Anderson's deed, it didn't specifically say anything about the deed, it just said. That any of the prior encumbrances, blah, 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 stay in effect. To know like who owns the culvert for outside of the right of way. Et cetera, cause that's gotta be, I'm not trying to make my project bigger, I was just trying to. Make sure that you guys are all aware of it and have been talked about loosely before. And
Ian, what do you recommend? Tearing the culvert out and putting a new one in?
the whole thing, if you're doing it right, and if the town owns it, the whole culvert.
Are you
should-
gonna be tearing up the street where the culvert is?
Yes,
You are.
not the whole, well, at least enough of the street where, you know. 'cause we
Not
have
the
to
whole
get
street, but where the culvert is. You're gonna be going under the culvert.
Yes,
So that's the time to do something if you're gonna do it. I looked today, but I didn't understand. I went up too far.
Oh,
But that had nice headers on it. I said, geez, that looks good. All right, I'll go back tomorrow and look at the other one.
I mean, I guess realistically, you're either looking at forcing Ian's contractor to go under the existing culvert and then potentially the town comes back later to pop the culvert and risks hitting the sewer line. Or you take the culvert out while you're there, they can just dig the trench and put in the sewer line and then you can put your new culvert down over top of it and do it all at the same time.
So it's really a matter of coordinating with, Demi.
I think the problem is what
And
the
Peter,
culvert going to the.
well, you could,
garage.
you could at least put a proper size under the road for now, and then unfortunately. You'd hate to do it, Fernco it down to a, you know, adapt it down to a smaller pipe. But, and then whether the town, or this could be a whole separate meeting, cause then.
Yeah.
Someone should probably look at what the deed is, or if there's any deeds on who even owns this, cause it goes a long ways along.
at one point,
Peter
Peter
Anderson.
talked about, or there was talk about Peter changing his culvert as well.
Right.
And, or being
And
responsible.
or cost sharing, yeah. Then whether that was a Tim Murphy thing saying it, and I'm not trying to, again, not with Tim
Yeah.
Murphy. But, and that's why I figured it was worth bringing up, cause it had been discussed.
No, I remember it being discussed and I think it was brought up. But I think you're right. I think we need to have this conversation, but not right this moment.
Which is fine, so this is the primer, I guess. then.
Yeah, no, this is we need to have this discussion.
So that's why I have my contractors bidding it as though they have to go under that culvert stays for whatever it is.
Okay,
Okay.
But it should be something we should talk about by end of May, or early May, I guess.
Okay. that's doable.
So I would,
Can we have it on the
I've had a
next
couple of
agenda?
members taking a little road trip and going to check it out.
and then also I think it'd be valuable to grab the deed. So the last deed so there's nothing in Peter's deed. When Rachel and Teddy had bought it, it was 51 or something. It's book 13.
Is that a deed road up through there, Ian? Pleasant Street,
Certainly hope it is.
Oh, what?
a deeded road.
What does that mean?
That, or is it just a right of way?
Well, my Rainbow Street up through there,
So
on my parents' house is deeded.
part of Pleasant Street is because it was deeded by the railroad when they constructed the underpass. So part of it is, but I don't know how far. But Larry suggested maybe a couple of board members to go visit the culvert and look at the deed and do the legwork.
Larry did suggest that.
Book 13, page 47. Would be a deed to go look at, because there's nothing in Peter's,
Deeded.
in those deeds, the newer deeds.
Tell you exactly how wide that road is.
Yeah,
So
Page what?
let's chat after, Larry, I'll go up there with you.
Okay,
I'll go up there, that's
Oh.
right there.
Then you
Yeah.
two go up there,
Yeah.
because if it's three of
Same
us.
thing, let me know if you want, because
The
I'm,
quorum,
I drive that road every day now. too.
anything. Well, we could do that and not decide anything. Don't want to give him anything else to talk about.
All right, last point. And
Okay.
This is why I'm saving the best one for
I
last.
can't wait.
Of course, if you never ask, it's always no.
Right.
We originally were hoping we were gonna be around 50,000 for this project. Bids are, I've got bids in the range of, I haven't got the one in writing yet, but I've got bids in the range of 65 to 75 right now. This is a project that's gonna end up being owned by the town. I think John had kind of been financing for 50,000. Is there any opportunity for the town to kick in any funds towards this project, as they are going to own that? And then effectively benefit in the future with other homes that could connect to that.
Well, we're saving you money on the road closure. And if we do the culvert work, that will also save you money, correct?
There's, different potentials, I mean, to get it all apples to apples, I don't know. I think the bids I've got right now, are mostly they're hoping that they could close the road, not to deal with that.
Right, well, right, oh, I see. But it's, okay,
how many more potential homeowners up that road would be on the left side going up, you know?
You've got 4 or 5 houses that are right there, and then you've got Jacobs's
Yeah.
apartment building. But the design and the permits, when I did that, the design did originally include, so we're only building, of course, up to
Right, at the,
the.
Rich Billen's
North end of
place.
Ellen's.
at Rich Millen's
My
place, right?
design and permit did go all the way to South Street.
All the way to South Street, but then you need a pump station to get from there.
That, as I had different conversations with Tim in the past, was that if the town ever wanted to, or figure out a way to figure out a community group that could then apply for the CDBG money. This is like what I've had experiences with this with other projects. Is it, if they could establish like a community group, and then they could apply for CDBG money and or USDA money. To do that pump station, and then you could effectively try to benefit. It's a tough thing, because I go back and forth all the time, like here we are with a bunch of homes that probably were, whether they were single family or back in the day, they were a railroad and they housed all sorts of people. And then in the last 20-30 years, they've all been converted to be multifamily, but never really had proper upgradings of their sewers, so it's
Right.
like. But we're in this housing crisis of everything else in the state, so it's,
Last,
anyways, it's just, it's an.
yeah, last year there was an estimate of 3 houses on South Street that probably needed sewer.
Yeah,
The house on the corner that had the box built,
Yeah.
that one's one of the three?
I mean, that would, yeah, in the future, that box was a variance and it's not a typically permitted system, but yeah. They were quoted, I think they ended up building that box for like 55,000, or they would have been the same thing, what,
Right, so-
$200,000
so
to
there's-
connect to the sewer.
There's at least two other houses that are either failing or gonna fail.
Yeah.
That's what they said last year. I don't know, who said that? Was it Simon or
I think that wasn't a me thing, but I
Okay.
did hear that as well.
I think Tim said that,
Tim?
but it's not past the Tiller's property. I don't believe.
South Street is.
I don't think South Street are the properties that were gonna be failing
Oh,
on
okay.
South Street. I think it's,
No,
Ted
Further out.
Rachel White's, and then the Jacobs had that apartment just beyond Rachel White's.
Yeah.
Down in there, those all on that side would be
yeah, it's-
needing to be done.
so can we talk about that, or do we have to talk about it right now?
Again, it's just giving you guys a primer, because
Yeah.
if we don't ask, it's always no, and it's
I personally would like to go look at it. I was on board in 1980.
Yeah.
Or in the 80s, and the sewer is supposed to stop just under the underpass when it was put in. But it went to Gladys Ferris's house. Who at the time was the town clerk. And then it stopped, and Harold Jacobs was a selectman. And he tried to get it to go to his apartments. But the select board didn't allow it to happen. So all the politics that goes on here. They've extended, the town has extended the sewer up on, Rainbow Street, where my mom lives. Out to pick up all of those houses. And they did that a couple years ago. And that was, that was a good extension. I think Phil Gates got a grant or something to make it happen. We should extend that sewer to South Street, right at the bottom of the Oxbow Road. So it picks up all those people in there. Because if their sewers fail, I don't know what choice they have.
Well, the problem with that is it's below grade, so they need a pump station.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I understand that.
yeah, so this clearly is, and,
Talk about a $2 million project. right
yeah,
there.
discussion for a little bit, I mean, we have to come back. To the culvert discussion, give a chance for, Larry and Nell, and if Bob wants to go up there, everybody look around, and then maybe not next, meeting, but the one after, we can have another sewer discussion.
I love it.
Yeah. Are you
Any
having-
grant money available?
Yeah, that's a good question.
You know,
I did get a bunch of numbers today from Megan Kane with the state. There's a couple that will ask Windsor Wyndham Housing. They're ones that we could ask.
cause that would play a big part in decision making if you could get some money to help. With the cost of extending it on further.
There's another part that was like the on-site program, but we would have to like apply to two other grants and get rejected. And this is literally the language she sent me, is we have to apply for two other grants and then we could apply for an on-site grant. Unfortunately, this doesn't fall into healthy homes. The criteria and the tiers for that, so.
Is there any money in the USDA? Either?
If you had a community, it's a huge process to apply for that, usually. How much money do you wanna spend to get how much free money, so, like, when you're doing those projects, it usually is for when you're getting 20+ residents. On it, to get to the USDA, but that's where you could potentially be going if it was, and this would have been something to.
How many are down there? How many?
I mean, if you try to figure out the whole extension between those houses, the apartments. If you included whether it's what the Blue Zone and South Street, I mean, there's, all those are 2 or 3 unit homes at this point, I think, so. I think you could probably get close. But you're gonna, again, spend some money to, and I don't know, the way I talked to him,
1980 and then.
the way I talked to
Well,
him
you dropped the ball, Bob.
Just politics.
Tim was that you would have to get all those folks to agree to a community group that would have to have some sort of a.
Well, if you put the line out there, you expect that they would all tie in.
But there's been discussion too at that point with dollars and cents. Do you try to bore and back under the railroad? And then gravity to Karen Circle, which that seems to me like, that's a bigger mess than what you want.
That was one of the things we
But-
talked about in the 80s, but I know that.
No, when it's,
costs
no,
were
when
prohibited. The
no, when it's right
railroad
there,
wasn't very cooperative.
right, not when it's right there, and,
All right. Thank you, Ian.
no, thank you guys, I
Okay,
appreciate it.
And we'll,
Sorry for
we'll
all
get you,
the.
no, that's okay, we'll get you back on the agenda in a couple meetings.
Thanks for being patient.
Yeah, huge apology, but I need a
Me too.
2-minute recess because
Me
the
too.
chair has drank too much water today.
So, I'm going to bed now.
Thanks for coming down.
No, you better call Ellen if you wanna go home. Call Ellen, she'll come pick you up. Be another half an hour anyway. Be another half an hour.
I do appreciate all your legwork.
No problem, thank you.
Are you sure?
I'm positive. 10 o'clock.
Don't try it.
Good.
Well, I still don't know how much money I gotta get.
Well, that's what
Try to be
So
quick.
Jacob,
They're always
Jacob's
on
supposed to be
time
back
scheduled?
Saturday, and then he's gonna give it to me.
Usually,
And then Jeff
usually.
said he'd have me price.
but there's always a monkey
So I met him today.
out there.
Yeah,
So.
if Jeff,
Oh, my goodness.
I
switched off.
mean,
I'll catch you, I'm here for a year.
I think the world of Jacob there, but Jeff Gilman's
When that happens.
price anyway.
What was funny today is Jeff Gilman was hemming and hawing about there's the one service line that goes overhead, so all the poles are on the west side of the road. There's one
Thank you, yeah.
power telephone line that crosses the road, and he's like, oh my god, we have to work under that line, like, work on that line, I'm like. It's one line you have to work under, and like that to him, like that was like,
Well, we have to see. Till we get a firm price, I don't know where I'm going anyway, so.
You're not hiring
But in
back.
I mean, I got a general idea what I can get, but until I have a rock solid number, I mean, we can't go ask for money if you don't know how much you need to ask for, so.
Not hiring Matt.
what's that?
You're not hiring Matt,
Matt.
Loftus.
We sent him the plans, and his concern was, having to bring another guy on crew or team up, or how he was gonna do it, and I think at one time it was whether him and Jacob worked on it together, or I think Jacob at this point has a couple guys that he can steal to make sure he can get it done in a week. So he is one of our numbers.
I got plans for him in April, so.
I know,
Gonna take a week probably.
yeah. So, I know a lot of people want Jacob.
No, Matt.
Oh, Matt, yeah.
All right, well, thank you.
Hey, thanks.
Thank you.
Again, we'll talk to you.
Thank everybody for your time.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yep.
Have a
I
good
do.
night.
Need to go under power line.
Well, so the main line runs on the west side of the road. There's the services that go to, must be Mary Rogers's or something. There's only one spot where the lines cross the road. And he was like, oh my God, I gotta work under this crossing power line. I'm like,
I can have GMP come wrap it, if that would make your life easier.
sure, maybe, yeah, okay. Just to me, it was, I don't know.
No, cause they'll show up like the week before and just chuck the yellow
Yeah,
over the line.
that's a good idea. See, you're. What would we do without you?
Or road projects probably.
Well, I just haven't asked GMP for something like that lately. 90% of the time I was like, we shouldn't.
Most of the time it's not worth it, but as soon as you start excavators and moving stuff
Dump
around.
trucks
swinging
dumping
stuff,
up
it's-
and-
Yeah,
That's what you're,
Good friend of mine, he got electrocuted in Bradford.
really,
just helps to keep it visible,
Oh, yeah,
and then if you do tap it, it's not as dramatic
okay,
generally.
good to know. And I guess just a lot of projects, I guess I've had, it's just I think that's more a new thing, I don't know. Everything I hadn't, I don't know, so I haven't had to worry about that.
Well, you saw what happened last time we caught one, right?
Which one?
The one that trucks across the field and then goes across 110.
No.
But we caught that with a dump truck. Yeah, on the access road, it pulled it down all the way across the river.
Was it one of the tractor trailers that, cause they're extra?
No,
They
the
were
dump
tipping
truck,
on the
town dump truck,
access on
town
the
dump
line.
truck.
Yep.
Forgot to lift the body up.
Luckily, it was consolidated,
How long ago was
but
that? Last
it
summer,
took everything out.
Well,
pretty
I
quiet.
appreciate your indulgence and and then have more water.
Can I just make one random public comment? No, I appreciate you 100% for pushing Demi. Demi's a great operator, great at a lot of things. When we were doing all the FEMA stuff in July of 23, like, that was one of the things, I think Demi, I really was trying to coach Tim on it, is like, just sit down with him and even though he doesn't have an idea, try to do a 2-week, 3-week look ahead. Just even if it's, I think if you got him to do it a couple times and he might appreciate it. And I don't know who the highway liaison is now, but just, I think if you could just take it in increments, like get a 2-3 week look ahead with him, and that would be it life changing. And I know, trust me, it's part of the conversations of, I don't know, that's just me and how I coach him.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah.
Good luck, you guys. Appreciate you guys.
Town
Ian.
town
Come again.
administrator.
So the North Road bond revenue is into US Bank. They
Okay,
need the town's permission to invest those funds so that they can earn interest. Until the point where we draw them down, so I'm just looking for the select board to approve US Bank to invest our bond revenue.
they move that we approve the bank to invest in North Bond revenue.
US Bank, where's that?
It's the bond bank, it's the national bank that deals with the bonds.
Looking for a second.
I'll make a second on the motion presented.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Street sweeping, I was hoping to have a second quote for the board. We received the $195 an hour quote from the company that we usually use. I did find, one other company, Jay Hutchins, who sent someone down to look. He did say that he thinks it's gonna be about a 2-day job. And had a follow-up question about what our budget is. It generally costs us about $2,000 to
Mhm.
have our current sweeper come in.
Right,
The contractor that I spoke with said that they were fairly certain they could accommodate us earlier in the year. Potentially targeting like Memorial Day, end of May. I was just looking for the board's opinion on, if their quote comes in around $2,000, if we can get on their schedule, because it's kind of time dependent. If you have a maximum dollar amount that you would like to spend on street sweeping, so that I can get on someone's.
the vendor we usually use.
The vendor we usually use does a good job. They're based out of Claremont. But we have had some difficulties in the past with them saying that they're coming and then they have an equipment breakdown or a lack of
Okay.
staff or something like that and gets pushed out and pushed out and pushed
The
out.
scheduling was really my question, yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why we run into a problem then with line painting, because you're trying to coordinate the two activities. And last year obviously didn't work out, so I'm just trying to get you guys on the schedule somewhere.
Do we have a contact with the line painters for crosswalks?
So we have used L&D safety marking in the past. The gentleman from Jay Hutchins who came down actually suggested a couple of other companies who might be more willing to actually schedule our line painting. The way that L&D safety marking works is that we ask them for a quote, they send us a quote, and then they say, okay, we'll put you on the list. Because they contract most of the time with V-Trans, and they're doing line striping, and they just look at everybody in the whole area and who's got line painting, and they get to you when they get to you. Whereas if we could solicit some quotes from a smaller, outfit, we might be able to schedule that more firmly as well.
Now, the Hutchins one is that he came and looked, but he didn't give you any price yet?
He came down Thursday last week,
Thursday.
he just hasn't gotten me the price yet.
Well, I would almost think we should wait and see what he has to say, cause if he's more dependable. I mean, then we're kind of looking for that to get it done for Memorial Day, and then you could schedule.
Memorial Day, law school graduation, yeah.
It doesn't sound like we're gonna make law school. graduation.
It's possible. I will not tell you that we will be able to have street sweeping done and the lines painted by law school graduation.
L&D, we definitely will not.
Correct.
So, yeah, so I'm with Larry. I think let's hear from the other two vendors.
We used to do our own line painting,
Yeah,
the road crew.
Yeah, so let's look for a vendor. I don't think the fine games that we did are that good. They were kind of wavy, the parking spaces were uneven. Maybe those weren't ours, but there were some pretty bad jobs.
well, crosswalks don't last very long. Right?
They only get worn out, tire tracks.
And that's really the issue is the crosswalks.
And the wrong paint.
Yeah, well. If we hear from the other vendor for the street sweeping. And we can get the street sweeping done before law school graduation. Then we can turn our attention to whether we, like, if we get here from these two vendors and we can get a street sweeper and not necessarily a line painter, then we can have the debate as to whether we want to go and keep it in-house and have, maybe
Right.
lesser crosswalks, but they're done,
So
right?
the vendor that we've been using typically costs about $2,000 to do the street sweeping. To come for 2 nights when he's available. Is there a number that the board is comfortable with, so that if this quote comes in and it's reasonable? I can accept it when it comes in, so we can get on the schedule. Is it that important, or would you like to wait the 2 weeks and wait for the
I
actual?
think we should get a number. To give you some latitude to be able to get it done.
Yeah,
2,500?
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I think scheduling is more important. than
Yeah, me too.
The cost. But that sounds fine.
3,000 if they do it when we want. I'm
So-
not kidding, like, yeah, do it.
So, I'll, looking for a motion to authorize Victoria at a certain number.
Make a motion to authorize Victoria to spend up to $2,500 if the vendor can come before the law school graduation.
Second,
Further discussion?
The only other thing you said, the vendor that you're talking to, Hutchins, had some ideas of some painters too?
Yeah, so step 2 would be to reach out and try to
Yeah,
get
but once
some line
once he
painting
can
quotes.
give you a
Yeah.
quote, maybe he'll give you the names and you could,
Boy, now that would be a good business right there. A street sweeper, line painter combo.
He did also make sure to tell me that they do sewer drain cleaning, and that if you do both street sweeping and sewer drain cleaning, they give you a discount on your sewer drain cleaning. Which you probably do also need to consider.
it happens.
As a note.
We've had to
Yeah.
have a bunch of it when I was on the board.
All right, all
All right.
those in favor of authorizing Victoria to spend up to $2,500 for street sweeping, if it can be done by law school graduation, say aye.
I,
Opposed, hearing none, motion passes. I would also say, Victoria, don't hesitate if you hear quickly about the street sweeping and it's gonna happen. And you also hear from line painters. Since it is kind of time sensitive, I think trying to schedule a quickie special board meeting to get the painting approved
Okay,
would be appropriate.
all right.
We can just zoom in for 10 minutes.
yeah, I have no issue with that.
Yeah.
No issue.
Yeah. So just
And
keep that in your.
You guys, I would like to maybe, along those lines of what I was talking about with Demi,
this kind of thing. If we like these people, I'd like to have them on a book. I'd like to have be all signed up with them for next year.
Yeah,
And it's
that
a
makes sense.
continual thing that we don't ever have to have a meeting about, you know.
If we like what he has to say, I think that would be a good
Well,
thing
and
to,
they paint line straight, then yeah, then.
yeah, I think
you're
this
right.
would be a good thing. Let's, if you like what he has to
Reach out
say,
them now and say, get us on your schedule for next
a 2-year contract.
spring, next May or whenever we need it done, yeah. All right. Item last for you.
Yeah, so we utilize All Access Infotech to manage our IT needs. They manage the town server and firewall and all of our Microsoft accounts. Their contract, for service is due for renewal. It's roughly $24,000. I apologize, I don't have it right in front of me. They also would like to replace the Sophos firewall, which is a bit of hardware. The cost to replace that hardware is coming in about $2,500.
So what was the first number, 25,000?
It's roughly 24,000.
24,000 plus 2,000,
For the 1 year plus 2,000.
26.
6.5.
Do we
Yeah,
have
and
anything in,
That 24,000 cost is the service management and also all of your Microsoft.
what is in our budget for that, do you know, roughly?
26, I believe.
Okay, so it's budgeted, so.
It's in the ballpark, yeah.
Yeah.
Do we have any equipment that would also need to be replaced?
Not at this time, so we replaced everyone's laptops and computers and the town's server in 2020. So for what we use them for, 7 to 10 years is not unreasonable.
Yeah.
Um,
Microsoft warranties are only 3 years.
But yeah, I mean, in the not too distant future, you'll be looking at wanting to replace some hardware, but it doesn't need to happen right now.
Okay. Have you got any alternatives for that?
I have not
Iowa?
put this out to bid, but we could. I did ask them about if they use anything other than a Sophos firewall, because Sophos is going to subscription service, basically. So they're updating everyone's hardware and shifting over to subscription service.
I didn't mean to kick you.
And they said they could look into it, but at this time they primarily just use the Sophos.
So that $2,500 you mentioned would just be the hardware?
So it's the hardware plus the cost of updating all of the firewall rules and installing the equipment on site. So it's the prep.
And is there any subscription
But
cost?
what do you have?
There's an ongoing subscription cost that is included in your managed service contract along with your Microsoft.
Okay,
licenses.
so that's already rolled into the 24 grand?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep,
I'll move that we hire them and that we have them upgrade the software, the firewall.
Does that managed service contract also include backups and stuff, or is that a different?
we do have a cloud, there's a cloud backup, yes.
Second that motion.
any further discussion? All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Yeah,
Motion carries. Warrants,
I went through them.
how'd they look?
Everything looked great. No questions?
No question, you always have a question.
No? No
She's
questions.
turning a new leaf.
picking up the pace, you say?
I know, maybe we should start all the meetings at 8:30 and see how much we can just crank out.
We get all these bothersome people out of it,
Yeah.
and things go faster.
Oh, speaking of meetings,
Well,
can we
can we get a motion to approve the warrants first?
I'll make a motion to approve the warrants.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, hearing none, motion passes.
Victoria, when you have the warrants, when are they finished?
I do not prepare the warrants, but Rita usually has them finished around 1 o'clock in the afternoons.
Yeah, should you send
On the
that?
day of the meeting?
On the day
Yeah,
of the meeting,
yeah.
yes.
1 or 2? Yeah.
Approval of minutes from last meeting.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes from last meeting.
I second the motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Say aye.
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 I didn't get a copy of it, I think,
The minutes? I can make one for you.
thanks.
On the business, did you say something about talking with the Herald about, was there anything to tell us about the,
No, so I emailed the Herald and just asked them if they could add the select board meetings into their calendar of events and what the associated cost would be. And they bounced it around internally a little while because none of the select boards do that. And the meetings are legally warned elsewhere. But they did come back and say like, we think this is a decent idea. We've got to fuss with it a little bit and see how it might fit into the calendar of events. So I think they will publish it. But I don't have anything definitive
you
yet.
did suggest that they have a, you know, like a box of local meetings. for other
It sounded
towns.
like that was the direction they might be trending in. Is that they're considering having like all the meetings, but.
But they didn't have a place.
No,
Put
because,
us.
because generally towns only put it in the paper if it's the legal warning and then it goes in the legals.
So I did hear a suggestion that if we moved our meetings to Thursdays, then the paper would have just come out and the warning would be up to date rather than being 8 days ahead of time. You could have it within 2 days.
That is true. If you held your meeting on a Thursday instead of a Tuesday, then you could send your agenda to the paper 2 days before and it would hit the paper the same day as your meeting.
But the people would not see it would not get a 24-hour notice. And the way the mail's working, it's not gonna make any difference anyway.
Yeah.
No, if you had a meeting on Thursday, you didn't get the paper till Thursday.
Monday, no, Monday.
Thursday.
Oh, you put it in Monday's paper or something.
No,
No, the
no.
Herald would come out on,
But I don't get it in the mail until Monday.
I know, I don't either.
Yeah.
Saturday maybe.
It was just a suggestion somebody made.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I did have I guess one thing I was gonna ask about was if we could potentially. Obviously not this next meeting or, one of these meetings. Coming up, I was wondering if we might consider. Changing the day or the time, just one, because I would like to go to. A town of Tunbridge select board meeting and, they're also on the second and fourth Tuesdays.
Are you required at a Tunbridge select board meeting?
Am I required?
Okay, well, so I guess my question is, why are you interested in going to a Tunbridge?
Yeah, that was gonna be my question.
Because I'm interested to see what they're talking about and how they deal with their town and
Can't you,
run their.
can't you listen to their recording?
As a resident of Tunbridge, I would choose a different town. No, with no shade
I would,
whatsoever to Tunbridge,
so
they're just.
a lot of these meetings are actually also on Tuesday, so that's the only, that's, so
Well,
it's
but
not a,
everybody records now, right?
Everyone does record. and
So you
post
can
the
listen to the
recordings,
recording.
Yes,
yeah, I'm not really that kind of person.
And you're one of 5, so if you wanted to
I was
take,
gonna
Yeah.
say, you could just
Yeah.
tell us ahead of time, hey, won't be here tonight and
Yeah, and maybe what I would do is I would go for an hour and come back and be here with you for
You'd
the next
still be
5
here.
hours.
also, Sharon meets on Mondays,
They do meet on Mondays?
Yes.
Okay, I thought I
sure,
wrote that
good.
down, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
not to
Great.
dissuade you.
no,
just
that's
offering some
perfect, that's
options.
fine, I just wanted to kind of talk about that, so perfect, moving on.
I'm moving on, just something to think about. I'm considering striking other business from the agenda moving forward. And my thought is, if somebody has something they want to talk about, they can, when we discuss the agenda at the beginning, we can tack it on instead of doing all this random stuff at the very end when we're losing interest.
I guess I don't agree with that, but, I would
Okay.
be, so
It was just a thought,
yep, I hear what you're saying,
just
when
consider it.
we approved the agenda and we had that weird.
there was a weird motion because other people were adding things into the agenda.
Mhm.
And then I thought we were voting on a motion that was, but we quickly moved, so I said, yes, I second that, or
If you find,
but I couldn't,
if you find the other business section helpful, we can keep it. And it's just a
Well,
thought.
I'm just saying, approving the agenda, it was like, I was trying to interject that thing that I just brought up
Oh,
in
okay.
there, but we had already moved on and we had already spent so much time on that.
Okay.
I wasn't gonna say, hey, I didn't get to say what I wanted to say, so, but yeah, I'm only one person. I don't, it's not, I hear what you're
Well,
saying.
you're not just one person.
I agree with keeping other business and
Okay. Good enough. All right, I would, now like to. We have an executive session to discuss personnel matters.
Yeah, you made the motion, do we need a second?
Yeah, let me make it a motion. Yes, we move to executive session.
I'll second it.
For
For
personnel
personal matters, does this include
And
Victoria?
I'm going to invite Victoria to stay, yes.
So I need to get up and shut that door, right?
I could go shut it. I've got to pause this also. And
Okay, we're out of executive session. Take a motion.
We make a motion, from our executive session?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Right, so exiting executive session, where actions taken will be,
you need a
we
motion.
need a motion, right? Yeah, that was actually the motion I was searching
I need
for.
I wanna make a motion to approve the pay increase for
Mike,
Regardless.
Bogardus. As he has completed his CDL training.
24?
yeah. Figure.
Did you want to make that increase retroactive to when his license was earned?
No,
So we need the $24 an hour.
I don't think
You
so.
know.
He got we paid for him to go to get his CDL.
Beginning April 1? Or whenever the next time,
how long ago did he complete his CDL?
I believe it
January,
was the end of January.
January?
And when did we receive notice?
I found out about it 2 weeks later, so I could add him to the testing pool because he showed up in my office. And I asked him like, oh, how's it going? And he said, oh, I got my CDL weeks ago. So I was like, oh, I need to know that so I can put you in the testing pool.
What's the testing pool?
The drug testing pool that's required for CDL drivers.
No.
Okay.
And you have a copy of that,
We
right?
could,
I do.
we, was effective in the next pay period or this pay period, whatever.
This paper.
I mean, I just don't think everything needs to be retroactive.
Just asking the question.
No, and I'm just, I don't, yeah. I don't know if that's
Do we
right
have
or wrong.
did we have a second on that?
Didn't Nell didn't do it? No?
I,
Seconded. I thought you
Stuart made the
seconded.
motion and I asked a question. Did you second?
no, I didn't. I said 24, at 24. An hour, right?
Right, so now I need a second.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Looking for one more motion.
We want a motion to have the town road crew come and meet with the select board. April 2nd at 1:30.
Sure.
Here at the town office
And I put to cover policy.
for policy and meet the select board members. And to just go over some of the policies that the town has for the highway crew.
Good idea.
Second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Now, everybody's favorite motion.
All those in
In
favor?
favor of adjourning, stand up.